And you are watching another Blewett Blitz film review. He has that ability to, trust me, he definitely does. Just his ability to catch balls outside of his frame, his leaping ability, his ability to hang in the air, his yak ability, it's all there. Lowers his helmet, low man wins, bang, rocks a guy.
Hall running free, Brees Hall inside the 10, he's gonna score!
The corner, the picture right here, lock.
3rd and 1. Stevens always drilled. What a great defensive play.
I don't try to Monday morning quarterback any of the reviews I do, and I'll try to be honest with a lot of the things I put up. And you are watching another Blewett Blitz, not a film review, but a live stream. You can watch and listen for the people who do not know that yet. Last couple of weeks, I've been posting the streams, the audio of the streams to the podcast app. So if you are so calm, go on to the podcast. Obviously, a lot going on in the last few days, a lot going on today. Injuries, we have reworked contracts, we have running backs visiting, we have other splash moves that people are talking about. We have happenings from camp. I jumped on a little bit earlier just because I think Sabo and Wayne Corbett are jumping on at 7. So I will take the 5 to 7 slot tonight, and then they will carry it home from 7 until 7:30, 8, whatever they are going to do. But a lot to talk about. A lot to get into. Say hello to some people who are in here because we never have a set time. We go from Wednesdays at 7 or 6 to Thursdays at 5 to Fridays. Friday was 6 o'clock, so we don't really have a real streaming schedule. But I appreciate the people who jump in here who have the notifications on. Eagles, one of them. Says Sean Payton, aka Bounty King Quitter, is the last person to talk smack about anyone on the New York Jets coaching staff. Sean Payton only did damage to himself in the Broncos locker room today. And I have some of the quotes here. I didn't write them all down just because it obviously happened today, and we're not necessarily so concerned about it. But he said that they are basically doing everything the opposite this year that the Broncos coaching staff and Nathaniel did last year. Another quote was one of the worst coaching jobs in the history of the NFL. He had some other quotes about the attention the Jets are getting in super teams and how it never works. And then Saleh came out and said he wouldn't acknowledge him. Something about crows pecking at the neck, and another quote saying that if you don't have haters, then you ain't popping. And then he also said if you're doing that they're doing something right. If the Broncos are already talking about them and they don't play until week 5. So you don't really see Saleh come back out and fire back at coaches. And for him to be, to say things like, that they must be doing something right if the Broncos are already talking about them and they don't play until week 5. Like, that's something that you don't typically hear from him. You also have Billy Turner come out on, I think it was Instagram, and basically call out Sean Payton. And there's some people thinking that he might have gotten to that situation, realized how shitty the situation it is, and now he's already trying to do damage control for what of a shitty season they're going to have. But it made week 5 hell of interesting, that's for sure, because I know Jets players are going to remember that. I know Saleh's going to remember that. And I for sure well know that Nathaniel Hackett's going to remember that. Obviously a tough spot, Russell Wilson, all that stuff. And yeah, Hackett did suck as a head coach. But for him to outwardly come out and say that was one of the worst coaching jobs in NFL history, when the guy is still in the league, obviously, it's an unprecedented shot you don't typically see from coach to coach in the NFL. But hey, let's fuck them up week 5, right? Like who cares? And you're going to have people, you're going to have media pundits. You have the Aaron Rodgers reworked contract, which we'll talk about. And you still have people saying like, oh, it's a shitty deal and all this stuff. It's like, bro, he took fucking $35 million pay cut. Regardless of how you slice it, that $35 million pay cut, you still have people like, oh, terrible deal. It's like, so no matter what the Jets do, especially positively, people are going to clap at the Jets because they are the new hot thing in the NFL, and they deserve to be the new hot thing in the NFL. They're a team who, with just okay, and probably even less than okay quarterback play, with below average quarterback play last year, they make the playoffs. Now you add Aaron Rodgers, who's clearly motivated, who's giving back probably, and we'll go into giving back probably the most amount in NFL history back in the contract. Just, hey, I don't want this $37 million or $35 million. Just take it back, which we don't ever see. The guy is clearly motivated to play, clearly still looks good in practice. And even last year, you're talking about his down year We discussed it. Yeah, there were some down moments. There were some bad decisions. There were some times he looked a little bit lazy. There were times he didn't want to be there. There was bad decisions on his part, but he also was playing with a pretty bad offensive line, receivers who couldn't catch the ball, and just in general, a lot of young guys on the team. And he still had one of the better years a Jets quarterback would ever have. Even if you transplanted Rodgers and exactly what he did last year, which again, I forget the exact stats, 26 and 12 or 26 and 12. You just put that exact same player on the Jets, you're talking about 34 and 10, with the talent we have and with the defense we have. And that's still a fantastic year. And I expect even more than that from Rodgers. I do. Now in terms of the touchdowns or picks or whatever it may be, I just expect him to be extremely efficient. He's dialed in. He looks good in camp from what everybody's saying. There's a ball or two that's going to be off. There's a ball or two that's going to get deflected. There may be an underthrow. That ball to Garrett Wilson that Sauce got the PD on might have been a slight underthrow, but it was also a hell of a play by Sauce. The play up the left sideline for Garrett Wilson was hell of a throw by Rodgers, and people are online. The Dolphins fans are like, "Oh, it's a terrible throw." It's like you're just saying stuff to say stuff. You're just saying stuff to say stuff. So let's say hello to some other people. We'll get into some of the Payton stuff whenever. That's a game we can't lose in the first 5, right? Like you're talking about the Bills, the Cowboys, the Chiefs, the Eagles, the Pats, the Broncos, right? And the Chargers, like the first 8 games. You can't lose to the Broncos. You can't lose to the Pats out of those teams. You could lose, I could see a fluke game versus the Chargers. I could see a bad game versus the Eagles, the Chiefs, the Cowboys, the Bills. Can't lose to the Broncos. So that's a must-win game, and now they just put even more emphasis on it. So thank you, Sean Payton. If anything can help the Jets out, I'm cool with it. Prayers for Joe Burrow. Yeah, he went down in camp today, calf injury, but apparently it's not too severe, what I saw just a few minutes ago before I jumped on. So I wouldn't be overly concerned with Burrow. Excuse me while I plug in my computer. I completely forgot to do that, and I see that it's about to die, so give me 2 seconds here. Also, while I'm just going through some of the housekeeping, more reviews came out. Aaron Rodgers, ABC, Breece Hall, rocking the Aaron Rodgers, by the way, which I bought before thinking that they were going to release new jerseys. And then I was sitting there. I'm like, I have a black sauce already. I have a green Q. Now I have a Rodgers black. I'm like, I don't really have white jerseys. And I looked in my closet, and the only 2 newer white jerseys I have from the Jets. And admittedly, I know I'm not supposed to buy newer players. It's a weakness that I have. But I'm sitting there. I'm like, I don't have Zach Wilson and Le'Veon Bell in white. Like, I need a white jersey, right? White jersey. Those get released. The new ones, I was thinking about getting a Garrett Wilson, but Garrett Wilson said he's changing the numbers to 5 next year. So I was going to be ballsy and get a custom jersey, put Garrett Wilson on, or a Wilson jersey with 5 in the background or on the back, customized. But you can't do that. So I went with Rodgers, and then hopefully when this jersey is the Jets' new primary, I'll get a Garrett Wilson green next year. But yeah, a lot of exciting stuff. 1 week till preseason, like Eagle says. 8:00 on Thursday night. Absurdly pumped. I'm going to have a stream with Kyle, probably Wednesday night, the night before. But yeah, I'm really, really excited to talk about that. I'm excited, which we'll get into in a little bit, to talk Dalvin Cook and get into some of his film if he signs. But just in general, just knowing in a week, I have preseason film to break down, and we're going to start talking about, the guys who are the 20th through the 80th player on the roster. Like, that's what that preseason game is for, the Hall of Fame game. So we're going to get into a lot of it and obviously break it down. And I'll probably have 60, 70, 80 plays on that. So what's up, Jay-Z? What's up, Carr? What's up, Rodrigo? What's up, Christian? Payton needs to keep our name out of his mouth. Yeah, I don't know the context of in which way it was asked, because obviously you'd be led to say stuff, but there's no need to say the worst jobs in NFL history, then start taking shots at the Jets and like the hard knock stuff and the super teams fail and stuff. Okay, we'll see. We'll see how great Sean Payton is this year with Russell Wilson, because there's a lot of pressure regardless of the situation. They have a huge quarterback contract. They traded, a lot of capital to get Sean Payton as their head coach. And if they're a team who is sitting there at the end of the year, with 6, 7, 8 wins, we'll see. We'll see how much talking he's doing. So I'm excited to watch him fail now. If Payton mad that Woody didn't throw the bag at him before he signed with the Broncos, you never know. It's a possibility. Obviously, ego hurt. Let's see. I hope bringing in Dalvin Cook doesn't get rid of Michael Carter. He's a great locker room guy. That's the thing too, and we'll talk about Dalvin Cook. Is with Dalvin Cook, it's not just bringing him in. Who are you getting rid of? And you have to make a decision. They're not carrying 5 running backs. And really, if you think about it, something that we've been talking about on the channel and people who have been here weekly know this. We've been talking about Bawden for How long on this channel? Literally 3 months. And now people are like, oh my God, Baldwin might make the roster. It's like, yeah, because they use a fullback in Tennessee and Hackett has, and he's the only fullback on the roster. So it shouldn't be a surprise. But now he might be in the fold. So you might have to carry a fullback as well. And he's like a pseudo running back. So if you count Baldwin, and even if you don't count Baldwin, you're not carrying 5 just strict running backs, right? So you're not getting rid of Izzy, you're not getting rid of Brees, and you're not getting rid of Cook. Obviously, he's going to sign if he does sign. It's Bam or Carter. And Bam had a few good games. He had the good Bears game. He had the decent Bills game. He had the decent the good Vikings game. But then he struggled post that. And obviously a lot of that was the offensive line. But do you want to buy into 2 or 3 games of Bam and then 2 or 3 bad games for whatever the reason was? Or do you want to buy into a really good season for Michael Carter and then a bad season following it up? Who are you going to get rid of? Because you're not just cutting one of those guys and letting them go to the practice squad. It's not going to happen. They're going to get picked up. So do you trade Zonovan Knight at that point? Like what goes on? So, and great locker room guy. Maybe last year he didn't seem to be the best locker room guy at all times with his comments and how frustrated he was. And, some of his social media stuff. Didn't he do some of like the scrubbing the Jets from social media shit too last year? So I'm not sure how great of a locker room guy he was last year. First year, sure. But the whole Moore thing, I think, rubbed him wrong. Obviously, he mentioned that bringing in James Robinson last year rubbed him the wrong way. So I think he's a good guy. I don't know how great of a locker room guy he's proven to be recently. And obviously, we don't know 99% of what goes on behind the scenes, right? So from Afram, hey Joe, long time. Yeah, no, Afram, it's been a little bit. I expect some more people who I haven't seen in months to jump back on here because the season's starting. But nice to have you back, Afram. I appreciate you being here. Ali says, what's good, brother? I finally catch you from the beginning, which is not typical, but I appreciate you being in here. Ali, let's see. Okay, so some other news. I'm just going to run it down from the top of what's been going on at camp and some of the things we've been hearing, which has mostly been a lot of good stuff. And again, you have to really take this with a grain of salt because a lot of the stuff is like I'm not going to call out names or anything like that, but it's like, oh my God, Izzy's going to be really good. He has game breaking speed. There's no way he cannot be good. Do you guys? And what the hell is the guy's name? Do you guys remember the guy's name from what year was that? Like maybe 2016, 17, the UDFA we got from North Carolina, who's an absolute burner and who's lighting it up in preseason. Are in camp and then just never made a noise for the Jets at all. But he was like blowing it up in training camp. So the offensive line, the defensive line, running backs are very, 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 very hard to buy into. So again, take a lot of this with a grain of salt, but you still want to mention some things that you're hearing pretty consistently, right? One of the things we're hearing pretty consistently, again, no specific order here. I just kind of wrote down ideas from offense and ideas from defense and what I've been hearing. And obviously another shout out to Robbie Sabo, who has not been there the last few days, but the days he is there, he writes like 1,000-word tweet because he subscribes to Twitter Blue, recapping the entire practice and with like really, really good details. Not like, oh, he had the pick. He's like, no, he was drifting in the middle of the field and in a one high look and then cut it off with good timing. Like Robbie really gets into it. So make sure you follow him for his training camp reports. I believe he's at Robbie.Sabo at Twitter. If not, just type in Sabo or JetX. You'll find him, obviously. So I buy into a lot of what he's saying and what some other people are saying who I do trust, at least a little bit with football. And one of the things we've been hearing pretty consistently, JJ has been blowing it up. He looks a lot better. He looks a lot more confident. And then he kind of mentioned in his press conference the other day where he talked about a lack of confidence. And it's not I can't find the words for it. It's sometimes it's nice to get like not like credited, but like players say what you're saying on film and what you've reiterated on the stream. Like I remember last year talking about Brees Hall not hitting the inside enough, and then Salah comes out and says he's not hitting the inside enough. And then we talked about JJ last year, and I'm sure a lot of you who've been watching the show forever remember us talking about JJ and his hesitancy in his rushing. And now he comes out and says he has a lack of confidence and he was hesitant last year. It's like shit, like that's what we've been talking about for months here. So if JJ is looking better and he eliminates the hesitancy from his pass rush, I do think he could be a guy who's getting, 8, 9, 10 sacks. Do I think JJ is ever going to be a guy? And again, obviously we're talking about ceilings here. This is not necessarily my expectations, but is JJ going to be a guy? Does he have the physical upside to get 20 sacks? I don't think so. But I think if you could sit in there as an 8 to 10 sack guy, which is obviously still very good, and a plus run defender, you're talking about a very, very good D end. So I'm excited to see him this year. But with that, there also comes questions because, yeah, he may be improving his pass rushing, but at what point are you ever going to play him over, JFM, Lawson, Huff, or McDonald on the edge? Now, obviously, it could be like scheme specific, game specific, whatever. Like, I'm not saying that all those guys or that JJ is never going to get a shot, but is he going to play reps over those guys frequently? And I don't think so. So what is going to be his real opportunity to show his pass rushing out this year? I'm not so sure it's going to be big, but obviously if he's improving, then he kind of jacks up his efficiency, and then we're talking about getting him more reps. But it'll be interesting to see exactly how that plays out. But pretty much every single day you're hearing about JJ and how he's blowing dudes up and how he's always in the backfield and how he looks really good, and he's talking about his focus. So plus for JJ, we also have the Nick Bawden news, which we've been talking about again for months on the stream. Now we're hearing about Bawden, and he might be a surprise to make the roster. He's not a surprise to the 68 people in here who we've been talking about Bawden for 3 months. So we'll see. Obviously, I like Bawden and in his limited snaps, and I like what I've seen from him. But with that being said, am I rooting for a Jeremy Ruckert to take that role? I am, because you can kind of do, you can save a roster spot with Ruckert. He could do 2 for 1, tight end and pseudo fullback, H-back. But it's just about, can he do it? And I know he had that good game against the Dolphins, but we have to extrapolate that over a year. And can he do that for 17 games and really hopefully, 20, 21 games? So I'm rooting for a Jeremy Ruckert to take that spot. But right now in base packages and their install, it's Bawden at fullback. So does he make the roster? And you have to kind of adjust your 53-man roster predictions when you're doing that, because a lot of people didn't consider Bawden when they're making their roster. But if they're planning on deploying a fullback 20-25% of the reps, which would be a lot, then he's going to be here. Now, if they're planning on making a smaller part of the offense where it's only 10-15, can Ruckert fill that role well enough, or could he just fill it well in general? So that's another thing to see, but that's something to note as well with Nick Bawden playing. Let's see. We have the Jets are finally going to break the Broncos and beat the fire and blood out of them. I don't know what that means. I don't know what the fire and blood means. The Dragons are awakened after the game. Salah is going to superplex Payton to the 50-yard line. Let's fucking go. Yeah, that's a game that, like, again, that's when you can't lose. They don't have a ton of, like, they have some good talent on the team for sure, but they're not up to the Jets ilk, right? And those are the games you cannot lose, especially in that tough stretch. Like, again, you have so many hard games this year. You have to take advantage of the teams who are going to finish with losing records, and the Broncos are one of those teams, in my opinion. Maybe they're 9-8, maybe they're 8-9, but regardless, they're a mid team. And the Jets, if they're trying to go to the Super Bowl this year, cannot lose to mid teams. They're mid, so let's kick the shit out of them on week 5 or in week 5. KD says the Broncos fan defending Payton like he's some savior is ridiculous. That organization is incompetent top to bottom. They get away with their mistakes to the legacy. Yeah, the Broncos haven't necessarily been a picture perfect organization in the last few years, and even like Payton, there's some numbers that I saw maybe a couple of months ago, but in terms of his actual like winning percentage and what he did with New Orleans, I'm not saying that he's not a really good coach, but I think he may be a little bit overrated in terms of what he's done, at least in recent past. So we'll see how he adjusts. Hopefully he sucks, because now he's an enemy. Anybody not on the Jets is not an enemy, or is an enemy. I don't root for anybody. Even like Mike Westhoff with the Broncos special teams, I want them to suck too. Anybody's on the Jets, I want them to suck. Eagle Fang says, with Aaron Rodgers reworking his contract to save the Jets $35 million, what should we expect next in terms of free agents, trade, etc.? Yeah, I'm gonna get to that one in a little bit, Eagle. But we've also been hearing about AR and Rodgers and how he's been really good. We saw that one throw. Obviously, the throw to Garrett Wilson was ridiculous. The throw up the sideline to Garrett Wilson was ridiculous. The throw to Corey Davis when he's drifting out to, I believe, his right and throws the ball sidearm to Corey Davis. That only shit was another really good one. Just to see how he's interacting with people, just to see the way he's teaching people, the way these people are speaking about him and how much of a leader he is. I don't think, and we'll get to the contract, I don't think Aaron Rodgers could have done anything better than he's done. Like, we heard about how what of a shitty human being he's been. He's been amazing. How he didn't want to mentor young guys. And he had he admitted that he was not the best with patience and with young guys or whatever it might have been. And he's fixed that with the Jets, at least so far. We'll see when things get rocky, but he's been helping the young guys. He's been going out to sporting events. He's been a great leader. Like, he's been every single thing we've wanted. And on top of that, he's fucking lighting up in practice. Like it is so fun to see. We are in such a good spot right now. We deserve to be excited, and hopefully it ends with the Super Bowl. But even if it doesn't, I would implore Jets fans to enjoy the moment, because we don't get a lot of moments to even be excited. So I am fucking pumped up. I really am to go week one. I don't go to preseason just because I'm weird with preseason. One, I like to watch it at home. And two, like the first time walking back into MetLife for the season, or into a stadium in general, whether it be the first games away or home, I'm probably going to be going to it. I like to have my cherry repopped. Maybe you can't pop a cherry, but you know what I mean. Like the first time I walk into the MetLife again, it's for the real shit. So that Monday night, wherever you're tailgating, whatever you're doing, like get into the stadium. You know that Rodgers is going to be announced last. He's going to be carrying that American flag, and it's going to be your starting quarterback of the New York Jets, number 8, Aaron Rodgers, and the place is going to go fucking nuts. And I'm so goddamn excited. Go to that game, Dallas, a bunch of games, but really, really excited for the season. I guess excited for other stuff as well, which it doesn't really matter right now. But your boy Blewett is going to be Papa Blewett in January, so also have that. So just ridiculously excited. A lot of good things going on in life with the Jets, with Rodgers, with everything. Baby Blue coming in January, like I said, baby boy. So fucking super pumped up for that. Got to fix this room. Got to get him jerseys. Got to get a bunch of stuff. So really, really exciting times in Jets land, in the Blewett household. And Rodgers is the peak of it. Which, not by chance, my wife got pregnant near the time Aaron Rodgers was becoming a Jet. Right? Yeah, around that time. So I could credit Aaron Rodgers. Maybe I should name my kid Aaron, or maybe I should name my kid Rodgers. But he maybe was the reason that me and my wife decided to do it that night. But we also have some other news. Wilson, good connection with Rodgers, which has been amazing. Obviously, the first couple of days you hear them being a little bit off sync with each other, but now the last few days they've been really connecting. There's a lot of people writing that Garrett Wilson is going to be a top 5 guy, a top 10 guy solidified. He's going to have 1,500 yards, 1,400 yards, which I think he has a capability of doing. But does the offense allow him so many targets? That's what we'll see. But I'm really, really excited in general for Garrett Wilson, his connection with Rodgers. That one catch that he made in the back of the end zone was absurd. The body control there, the ability to track the ball. The ability to control the ball, which it kind of squirted through his hands a little bit, but but the strength in his fingertips to squeeze that ball and pull it in, and have the awareness of the sideline all at the same time was absurd. So that's obviously really good. Now he came down today, left sideline vertical ball. He twisted his right ankle, I believe it was, but it only looks like a twist, only looks like a sprain. And there's some doctor who watched the video and basically came out and said, like, I don't expect this to be any more than a few days, if only a day or two. So bullet hopefully dodged there. We haven't heard any news, but Garrett Wilson going down for the season would be absolutely drastic. So good news that he probably only has a minor sprain. He rolled it just like you kind of do in basketball. That's what it looked like. And you can usually play on those like the next day. Obviously they'll be pretty safe with Garrett Wilson, but he's been dominating, and that's obviously great as well for wide receiver 1. So let's see here. The congratulations. I appreciate that, guys. It's gonna be tough. It's going to be tough in January, because, and I've already discussed it with my wife. It's like, listen, I think the due date's like late January. You guys know what we're trying to do in January, right? Like right now. So, the first week of the playoffs is probably going to be January 14th, 15th, 16th. And next week's going to be the 23rd, 28th. I can't go on any road trips to games during the playoffs, which I wanted to do so bad. And obviously I'm not joking, but I'm joking, but it's kind of like a serious thing. Like now I can't go to playoff games unless it's a home game. Home game, I might be able to pull it off, but there's no way I'm going to be able to fly to Kansas City with my wife in 4 days. I can't do it. So that's unfortunate, but obviously having a baby boy is going to be more exciting than really anything the Jets are going to do this year, even though maybe not. I don't know, but I appreciate it, guys. It's gonna be fun. You guys will meet him in January, which, by the way, bunch of bullshit. They told us on the first one of the scans recently, 80% chance it's a girl based on this and based on that. And I was like, okay, kind of justified all that stuff. And then like a week later, they're like, no, it's a boy. I'm like, fuck yeah. Like, I'm so excited. Jets jerseys, football games, hockey games, like really, really ready to have a little buddy around. But some other news, other quarterback news. Again, running through this stuff really quickly. I'll get into the chat. I'll hop off, whatever. I'm just kind of doing an impromptu dumping of my notes on you guys. And then whatever you guys want to talk about, we'll talk about until about 7 o'clock. I know I'm running pretty quick, and I'll get one comment that said I talk too fast, which I realized. But slow me down. You have the option to slow me down to 0.75. Do that. Zach is also looking better, which is good. Now, the problem with Zach Wilson is, okay, he looks better. And then what happens? Because he's not going to be here and starting next year, right? No, this is year 3, year 4. He's not playing next year. So does he take like a 1-year prove-it deal on the year that Rodgers may leave or not? Like, is he even going to be here? I don't know. That's up to discuss in the future. What I can say is Zach looking better is better. And obviously, and no shit, right? But like, there's some things that Robbie's been talking about where, yeah, he'll still miss like an easy pass into the flat, but Robbie's been kind of mentioning his mental processing's been a little bit better. He's been stepping up in the pocket a little bit better. There was a no-look pass today, which I didn't even really look to see if it's a legitimate no pass or not. I would lay off of that a little bit if I was Zach. Let's just get your passes there before we try to no-look them. But regardless, it seems that he's doing a little bit better, which is better for us, right, as Jets fans. Whether it be him as a backup, it's better, or if he's proving out in training camp and he balls out in preseason, do you trade him? Probably not, realistically, but obviously if they were to, the better he plays, the more you get. With all that being said, I don't give a shit how good Zach Wilson looks in practice, because we've seen plenty of guys look good in practice and suck ass in games. So I would prefer the Jets to get a quarterback. I know Teddy Bridgewater was visiting with who the hell was he visiting with recently? Maybe it was a Texans. I forget what team it was, but I would look to sign him, just because, again, people talk about because people are so extreme, either one way or the other. But it's like, oh, well, if we lose Aaron Rodgers for the season, we're screwed anyway. No shit. But let's say you need Teddy Bridgewater to come in for 1 week, and that 1 week is for the AFC East. I'd rather have Teddy Bridgewater than Zach Wilson, right? Like, we could be very simple as well. We saw Flacco come in for 4 plays versus the Bills game and fuck the entire game up in those 4 plays. Like, if you have 1 game to get into a better seeding or get into the playoffs, and it's Zach Wilson instead of Teddy Bridgewater because you don't want to spend $4 million, I'm going to be furious. And again, this is a process thing versus a results thing. If they go into the season without a quarterback and it doesn't happen, then great, they got lucky. Is the process still good of banking on no injuries for a 40-year-old quarterback? And to me, that's not a good process. So I would still look to bring in a quarterback. Now, are they going to, a week out from their first Hall of Fame game, or from the Hall of Fame game? Probably not at this point. I think it's a mistake. I think a lot of other Jets fans think it's a mistake, unless you're one of the Jets fans who says, "Oh, if he's down, we're screwed anyway." But again, that's very like elementary thinking, in my opinion. But it is what it is. Again, let's see, it's the Jets saying really quick. If you guys are going to, let's see, name him JD. Nah. Where are you, Dalvin Cook? No, his name's not gonna be. I thought of Jet with two T's, but his name would be Jet Blewett. And then his name would be Jet Blue. And I just don't want my kid's name to be Jet Blue. So he's not going to be Jet. He's not going to be JD. His name's not going to be Dalvin, Curtis, Darrell. It's not going to be after any Jet player. But we do have a name. We do have a name picked out. So where are you on Dalvin Cook? Somebody asked me this on Twitter, and I quote tweeted it with a guy riding a bike on a fence, because that's legitimately my opinion right now. The numbers indicate that he was much worse than people think he was last year. In terms of the numbers, I'm not talking about the stats, because the stats say he averaged 5 yards per carry, 1,000 whatever yards. I'm talking about advanced analytics are very against Dalvin Cook in terms of expected yards per run, in terms of fumbles, in terms of drops, in terms of pass protection. All of those numbers are pretty bad. With that being said, numbers are not everything, and numbers aren't even half of it. Numbers aren't even 25% of me. Maybe they're 25%. Maybe that's about what we'll give them in terms of what they actually mean. But from watching Dalvin Cook from afar, and then obviously watching some highlights recently in the last couple of weeks, just because of the rumors, he still looks very fast. He still looks very twitchy. He still looks like he takes advantage of what the offensive line blocks up for him, which people will say is like, oh yeah, well he gets what's expected. Yes, but that's also a skill, because trust me, there are plenty of people who do not get what's expected. So I want to watch him, and I might go and watch him after this a little bit, watch his first like 2 or 3 games just to have like a good feeling of him before he even, or at least a better feeling for him before he even signs. But I'm right in the middle, which is a terrible answer because you want to be one way or the other. But I'm indifferent. It depends on the price. If it's $4 or $5 million, okay, cool. If we're talking about $7, $8 million, I think that money could be used elsewhere. But it's interesting, right? It seems like he's going to be signing with the Jets at this point. He is, we can just talk about it now, but he is coming to visit. I think he's flying in today, right? Flying in today, apparently meeting with the Jets on Sunday. I know tomorrow morning he's doing Good Morning Football. So, Good Morning Football are going to talk about the Jets. They're going to bring it up. They're going to joke about it. They're going to ask him about signing, whatever it may be. But if you're going to have a guy come in and visit like this, and I think once it was confirmed that he was coming to visit, like he put up a highlight of like him breaking a 50-yard run against the Dolphins. Like it seems like it's pretty solidified at this point that he's going to be a Jet. Like a percentage-wise, I'm not sure. Maybe 75%, 80% he's going to be a Jet. And it's funny that after you get like all the excitement of the internet of him coming to visit the Jets, you have like a little leak that says, oh, well, also the Pats are looking to do an interview with him as well, like bring him to the Foxborough, which is most likely the agent saying, hey, Jets fans, chill. There's still somebody else out there who might visit him, give him a visit, give us more money. Like that's what that is. So does he even have a visit? Does he have interest from the Pats? We have no idea, but the agent's going to say that. So it seems like Dalvin Cook is going to sign. If I had to bet, now who do you get rid of out of Zonovan Knight and Michael Carter? It's honestly a very, very hard decision. To me, gun to my head right now, I would probably say try to stick Knight on the practice squad. Just because I will buy into Michael Carter's good first year over Zonovan Knight's good 2 games or good 3 games. I think Michael Carter can be back to what he was. And I think Michael Carter at his best is better than what Zonovan Knight showed me at his best. So it's probably Zonovan Knight who, then you make a decision. Do you try to cut him and stash him? Or he probably gets scooped up. Do you try to trade him for a late round pick? It's going to be a tough spot, but it seems like they're going to be bringing him in. And you also had Quan last night at, what time was it? Like 10 o'clock at night. He tweets out something like, I don't know exactly what it was. Like something like, got to get ready for training camp or something like that. So Jets fans are all like, holy shit. Like, Rodgers just restructured his contract. Now Quan's coming back. That's still a move I would do. Like I'm still down with Quan. Just to give you flexibility at both positions. Again, like I think Amos is going to be more a box player than some people realize. At least a combination of him and Whitehead are going to be like pseudo filling that Quan Alexander role. So you have a safety kind of filling that role. But if you bring back Quan, now you have the ability to play Quan there and then flex out Amos to free safety if Adams is struggling. So it gives you multiple spots of depth. And it also allows you to have that veteran presence. A lot of people like him, and it doesn't. You're not putting all of your eggs into the Jamie and Sherwood basket because they can like what they're seeing from him, and he's obviously the shoo-in to be the next guy up because past Quan last year he was the 4th highest in snaps for linebackers, I believe. So he's a shoo-in. But what if he doesn't work out? And even if he does work out, great. Who's your depth there? Let's and again, knock on wood here, but. And Quan's not going to fill Mosley's role, but what if Mosley or Quincy go down? Then you're talking about Zari Barnes or Chad Surratt as a starting linebacker for you. Do you really want to be in that spot, or do you want to sign Quan for $2.5 million? Like, to me, just bring in Quan. I would love to see it. And there's been some speculation that a splash move may be coming for the Jets. I don't know if it's going to happen. I would fucking love it, though. Now, what is it? I don't know. To me, I think there's a few spots you could look at. Now, how realistic is this? Probably not very realistic. Budda Baker just reworked his contract with the Cardinals. Would love that move. Do they really need to hang on to him? I don't know. Kevin Byard, I know he reworked his contract. Another guy I would have loved to brought in. Mike Evans at receiver. You're talking about what, $13-14 million this year. On a team is going to go absolutely nowhere. Can you cut Corey Davis and save or sign or trade for Evans and then give him an extra $4 million? You have the room to do it. Would love to do something like that. Now there's some Devontae Adams speculation. And a lot of people saying that he's going to be here at some point, whether it be this offseason, halfway through the season, or next year. Is that realistic with his contract? I don't know. I looked at his contract and it gave me an aneurysm trying to read it. It does not look like it's very tradable. So does he rework it to sign with the Jets or get traded to the Jets? I have no idea. Obviously, if you have Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson as your receiving duo, you're talking about the number one in the league very easily. I think the only close second would be the Dolphins with Waddle and Hill, but like, holy shit, Devontae Adams and Garrett Wilson. But we'll see. I think it's Cook and Quan. And then past that, there may be a splash. I don't know. You're talking about the Jets having anywhere from, I believe, I've seen multiple numbers on this, which I'll get to a little bit. I've seen anywhere from $11 to $20 million, which I'll kind of break down a little bit. I'm not really sure exactly which one it is, but you have some money to make some moves. And if you're talking about Mike Evans, it's like, oh, we don't have enough room to bring in Mike Evans. Well, if you get rid of Corey Davis's $11 million, he's only going to cost you an extra 4 or 5. Like, I would love to do that. Would it happen? I have no idea. But I think there may be another splash coming for Rodgers because of that contract and what he did there. But let's see. Oh, super chat. Let me get to the super chat. Long time, Joe. Let's go. I appreciate you being here. Jan, I've missed the super chats, but I definitely appreciate you. I hope to see John's big ass or Jan's big ass before I guess week 1. I don't know if you're gonna be there, Jan, but you got to come and pound some beers. So I'm excited. I'm excited to see Jan. I'm excited to see all of you guys. But thank you for the super chat, man. As per usual, for sure. But let's see. Congrats, Joe. Let's see. I'm trying to move back up here in the chat. I'm trying to figure where I'm at. Zach Wilson looks better. Trade him next year. Yeah, trade him if you can. I would trade Zach right now and bring Teddy Bridgewater, but that's not to me. Now that we're $16 million out of the cap, other than Cook, who else can you see being signed? Yeah, so you want to keep like at least $2 or $3 million just for in-season costs in case there's an injury. But to me, I think more realistically, and Evans, if it was available, I just don't know why he's not available, why it has not been talked about a lot. It looked like the safeties are both locked up in terms of Byard and Budda Baker. And another move, I try to look up free agent tackles in 2024 to see who was coming on their last year, their deal this year, to see if we can maybe trade for them in their last year and extend them or something like that. But I didn't really see much out there. But with that being said, if they were able to make a move for a tackle, that's what I would do. And we can mention it in a little bit in terms of like the exact happenings of camp right now. But Dwayne Brown hasn't been practicing. Becton's been practicing, not practicing. He practiced 3 days ago, and then 2 days ago he didn't practice, and then today he did team periods, but did individuals, but didn't do teams. So like, how healthy is Becton is a little bit sketchy right now. So if it were me, I would love to make a move for a tackle like that. That would be what I would do. Secure that spot. But how realistic is it, and who are we talking about? I don't know. I don't know. I know that we were pretty close on signing Orlando Brown a couple of months ago. I wish that would have happened, but I'm getting a little bit nervous about the tackle spot. A little bit nervous. Not to say that we don't have great depth, but you don't have ideal depth, right? Like we have. No, that's not how I should say that. We have ideal depth, or we have good depth, but depth playing is never ideal. Yeah, that's how I should phrase it. Because if Becton's not in there and it's any one of Turner, Mitchell, Carter, Warren, it's not a good spot at right tackle. If any one of those guys are starting, it's not good. Maybe Mitchell has really taken a step up from last year, but it's a pretty large leap to say you're okay with him starting at right tackle at this point. Run the score up week 5. That's gonna be an exciting game now. And it's always you're always a little bit nervous playing Denver because of the air and because of all that shit. And like, it's a house of horrors a little bit for the Jets. And even last year they escaped, with a win, but we're gonna have a lot of bad memories about how we escaped with that win. But still, like, they should smack them. So now this gives them even more incentives. So Verge, I appreciate that. If Aaron goes down, which could be rather have the dude, it's Teddy Bridgewater for Joe Flacco all day. The question was Joe Flacco or Teddy Bridgewater. It's Teddy. Like Teddy was always a solid backup, like a quasi starter, got injured, was a good backup. And then last year, he struggles a little bit. And now he's just like not like an afterthought. Like, he was a good backup for 5 years, had one down year, and now we're just discrediting the other 5 years prior to it. Like, I don't know what we're doing with that, but I would love to bring in Bridgewater. Would love it. Flacco was absolutely cooked, obviously, right? So Daniel Murphy, appreciate that. John Hassel. Did Joe say Westhoff? Yeah, Westhoff's coaching with the Saints right now, right? Or with the Broncos. Unless I'm a complete asshole. I might be an asshole, but I'm pretty sure that Westhoff is coaching with the Broncos. I could be wrong though. Ali says, congratulations, wish you and the wife the very best always. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see exactly how I try to pull off 31 reviews in the offseason, I think I just got to lessen it up. I think at a certain point, people can deal with me not doing reviews on Wes Schweitzer, Tristan Colon, Billy Turner, and a bunch of guys who really people don't care about. Only a couple hundred people watch that stuff. But hey, I might have to cut back, but we'll see. Congratulations on the baby boy, Joe. Very happy for. Hopefully he'll be a Jets fan. So and people joked about, like, I was at my family's house the other day and we told them, and I'm the only Jets fan in an entire family of Giants fans. Every single one of them is a Giants fan, literally, minus my mom, because obviously Jets stuff and the website, like, she'll root for the Jets now, and my wife. But every single member of my family, even like second cousins, are Giants fans. They're like, oh, we're gonna buy him Giant stuff. And I'm very honest with my family, and I was respectful about it. I'm like, listen, you do it, just understand, like, obviously you're joking with me, right? Like, it's a joke to give me a Giants jersey for my baby. You do that, I'm going to reciprocate a joke by lighting it on fire. So it's fine. If you want to waste $100 on a jersey to give my kid, it's going in fire, and I will do it right in front of you, because I already told people, you do not do that shit. So he will be a Jets fan, he will be a Devils fan, he will be a Nets fan, he will be a Mets fan. Now maybe that's child abuse, but no, I'm so excited. I'm so excited. You guys can meet him. I'll bring him on. He'll start co-hosting with me at like 5, but I'll bring him on. I'll bring him on the stream. I literally could not be more excited for that. Dan, we have a lot of haters, and I'm not one to call criticism hate, but this is hate. Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, again, you literally have Rodgers taking $35 million off, and like, people are like, oh my God, like, it's going to hit you eventually. It's like, no, he took $35 million off. What are you talking about? Unless Woody Johnson slipped him 35 under the table, but hey. To me, Dalvin and Brees are very similar size runners. Would prefer a power back. Yeah, like, so it depends on the price, right? And obviously it's hard to quantify because I don't watch all of these guys. Like, I don't watch Hunt and Cook and like actually break down their film. But to me, seemingly for what the price is going to be, I may prefer, or I probably do prefer, a Hunt to a Cook. And, you know, if you're talking about just like a power back role and maybe a little bit lesser a role too, Troy, because like you could be saying, hey, you know, not only do you want a power back, but also with a power back, then you can kind of give a Carter and Izzy more snaps, right? Because if you have Cook, like, he's going to be running back too, and you're pretty much going to have a 1 and 2 and a 3's going to be sprinkled in very, very little. If you were to sign, let's say, a Leonard Fournette, then the 2, 3, 4 are there's going to be more distribution of snaps to 2, 3, 4. So with the Fournette, you also have more of Carter and Izzy, most likely, or Bam and Izzy. With Cook, it's Cook, and it's Brees, and that's about it. So I get it, and I really want to dive deep into it and see because the numbers, to me, based on what I'm watching, might do him a little bit of a disservice just because of how quickly I see him hit holes and how shifty he is. So we'll see. I appreciate you, Mike. Thank you. Do you view the tackles as potentially Achilles heels of these Jets? Yeah, for sure, dude. Like, it's obviously there's plenty of Achilles heels, right? Like, you know, if Rodgers goes down, Achilles heel. But somewhat realistically, assuming they're going to stay relative to their track record of injury history, that did not come out right. Assuming Rodgers stays healthy, like he has pretty much his entire career, knock on wood. That's not a very realistic scenario for him to go down for like a substantial amount of games. But for the tackles, obviously, we've been battling injuries pretty frequently over the last couple of years. Brown has been injured. Becton has been injured. Mitchell went out with blood clots, you know. So, yeah, I'm concerned. And not only am I concerned about Becton staying healthy, but we have to be more honest about Becton. I think we're being. His rookie year was good. His rookie year was not fantastic. He did get beat up versus the Bills. He did get beat up versus Clement, versus what the hell's his name? Cleveland Farrell versus, you know, on the Raiders, who's a nobody now. Before he got injured in his second year, he was getting mopped by Carl Lawson. Sorry to say it. Last offseason, he was getting mopped before he got injured. And now this offseason, he seems to be getting mopped a little bit. Like, I'm sorry, but every time I look, it's like, oh, McDonald just beat Becton. Oh, Jermaine Johnson just beat Becton. Oh, Huff beat Becton. And I get those guys are all really good rushers and good DNs, but when he's in it, he seems to be losing more than he's doing anything really well. So I'm not only concerned about him with his injuries, I'm concerned if he's going to come back and even be like what we remember him to be, because not only is he 2 years off of football, he's had, you know, multiple big injuries. So is he still the same player? I know he can look great, And you could look slim and you could look all this stuff, but actually doing it on the field and seeing if the knee holds up is a completely different story. Just because he's skinny right now, which is obviously beneficial to his knee, but just because he looks good doesn't mean his innards are good. His knee could be all jacked up. He could still be skinny and your knee could be jacked up, So I'm a little bit concerned about Becton in general. You have Brown not playing. So offensive tackle is the Achilles heel. I completely agree with that. Or that's my opinion. I'm sure you're asking that because you think the same thing, but I'm right there with you. So if there's a way that the Jets can pull off a trade, and I don't think anybody's want to necessarily do this, but if you can trade for a tackle and get rid of a Becton in that package, whatever it may be, I would really look to do it because the offensive line is struggling at this point. And we can kind of flip that into another guy we've been hearing struggling a little bit is Turner. We've heard Turner's getting destroyed in practice, which it's a lot harder for offensive linemen without pads on than it is for defensive linemen. And a lot of the stuff is coming from the days where they didn't have pads on because you can't grab onto anything. But Turner's been getting beat up, and Turner's tackle at film Turner's film at tackle is not good. So if he plays, I'm concerned. I actually like Turner better at guard than I do at tackle. But that's not a good scenario if he plays. Other tackle stuff, again, Brown's out. Becton didn't take part in team drills today, which, or at least I believe, which is slightly concerning. And then in other tackles news, I guess that, what's his name? Max Mitchell's playing left tackle, which he didn't do in college, to my knowledge. I believe he was only a right tackle. So it's going to be interesting to see if he's able to do that and kind of or is he going to kind of be a swing tackle? Sorry, I'm running through notes really fast here. Got a lot going on in my mind. But yeah, definitely Achilles heel. Spin Max Dave, if we sign Cook, do you think the Jets will try to trade one of their younger running backs? Yeah, that's what they do. Which is unfortunate because I really do. Well, it's not unfortunate, right? Like if Cook's gonna be a good back and he's better than Carter or any one of these other guys, then great. Like the slightest adds in talent to this roster can be the difference in losing the Super Bowl and winning the Super Bowl. So any slight increase, no hard feelings. But for me, yeah, it's just watching Zonovan Knight and what he did last year. I think for any team or most teams in the NFL would pick him up as running back 4. So I don't think he makes it to the practice squad based on what he did versus the Browns or versus the Bears and versus the Vikings and even somewhat versus the Bills. So I think at that point you try to trade him or you trade Carter. So if Cook is brought in, I think one of those guys are traded. Maybe the Jets get fancy and they try to sneak him onto the practice squad. But if any teams out there are earning their money or worth their salt, they should be watching guys like Donovan Knight if he gets cut and be like, okay, yeah, let's bring him on as running back 4. Like I severely doubt he cannot bring on or make it on a roster. So Rusty Spooner, if we trade or release Corey, can we bring in both Cook and Evans? It's going to be a wild one for sure. And JD, we trust. Let's go Jets. Joe, congrats, fam. Yeah, Rusty, I really appreciate that. Nice to see you again. Yeah, dude. Like if they got rid of Corey, they have room to bring in both at the end of the day. Now, again, I'm not exactly sure how much the Jets have right now because they had 20, and then Rodgers takes 9 from this year, so you'd think it would be 11, but people are saying like 16. So let's just say it's 16 for now. That's fine. With 16, you get rid of Corey Davis. That's 26, right? 26, 27. You have Evans, who's going to cost you, I think, like $13, $14 million this year. Cook's going to cost you 5 or 6. That's $20 million. Then you still have $6 million to play with. Hey, give $2 million to Quan. We could bring in Quan, Cook, and Evans and get rid of Corey Davis. Like that. Hey, I'm down. But yeah, I think Evans is a guy who I don't understand why he's with the team. I get at a certain point you have to have some talent on your quarterback, but it's not like Baker Mayfield is a first-year guy. Like he's a veteran, so he's most likely going to sink anyway. So what is the point of keeping a receiver who's, I believe, on his final year of his contract or his last year or two, where you're not going to be competing with him on the roster regardless? So why not get rid of him for capital? I don't know why they're not doing it. I think they should. I would love for it to be the Jets who are the beneficiaries of that. But did you see the preview video of Hard Knocks, Wilson versus Sauce? I might be more pumped for Hard Knocks than the preseason itself. Yeah, that's the way to get Jets fans interested in Hard Knocks, right? Like you put out a minute clip of your offensive and defensive rookie of the year battling out in practice. Like, okay, that got me. I got a slight rise if you feel me on that one. I'm really excited to watch that, to watch the defensive versus offensive line. There's a lot of good behind the scenes stuff that's going to come from Hard Knocks, and a lot of it's practice. Like I don't really give a shit. I'm not the biggest player interview type of guy because I don't really think they say a lot. But you're talking about practice and like actually watching guys compete one-on-one with a nice tight camera angle. That's it. I'm there for that too, Eagle. No Skill says, congrats on the baby. Who cares about the gender, but did he look like more of a skill position or a lineman on the ultrasound? Yeah, nice, good calves, good elongated Achilles. He's going to be tested. Run through some 3 cones. I'm excited. That's like actually like legitimately, it's something I have to think about, like a kid playing football, like with all the head injury stuff. He's gonna play football though. But he was looking like a safety. He's looking like a safety in there. He was pretty active last time I saw him, so he was jumping up and down there. Like I said, late January. Let's see. Go back up a little bit. Oh, geez. Okay, you guys are lighting up the chat. I appreciate it. Burn all those Giants gifts, 100% fam. Like it's like, and again, I'll take a video of it. Like if they are to get me something like that, they know that gift is worthless to me regardless, so it will be lit on fire. Would the proper thing to do would be to go and donate it for charity? Sure, but I'm going to light it on fire. So Giant stuff, Pat stuff, it will get lit on fire. I promise you that. My kid will not be a Giants fan. Baby stuff Giants is fine. That way you and the son will have something in common. You will both cry all over. Giants diapers. There you go. Giants diapers. That's gonna be a fun game too. I don't know which of you guys are going to the Giants game, the Giants away game, but I'll be there. So technically I'm hitting 3 away games this year. Giants being one of them. I want Cook, period. He's still explosive. Yeah, he still looked explosive again. The numbers, we'll see. I could guarantee you that when or if he signs, I will come back on the show in a couple of days and give you a much more well-rounded opinion on him than I've had and most likely than other people will have. So I'll give you as many details as I can once he's signed, once I watch him film. Again, I might watch tonight, but I'm not sure if I'm wasting my time or not, so we'll see. Spin Max Dave, are you comfortable with Max Mitchell as our starting tackle? I'm not. No. Now, let's say in a year where, and this is kind of the thing I talk about with Tony Adams a lot. Let's say if this year was the Jets were, expected to go 7-10, maybe 8-9, maybe 9-8 at the best in like a surprise type of year. Would I be okay with Max Mitchell at tackle? Yeah, maybe. Obviously, depending on how young the quarterback was. That's not this year. This year is Super Bowl or bust. And a Super Bowl or bust year, and again, while saying that, I realize that it's not technically a bust if you don't win it, but we're shooting for the Super Bowl, right? So like if you don't get it, yeah, it's kind of a bust, but I get not officially labeling it a bust because only one team wins it. But that being said, it's still a bust. Are you comfortable with Max Mitchell in that situation? No, absolutely not. Last year, he was okay relative to expectations, but he was not a good starter. Do you want to rely on somebody who was not a good starter in 2022 to be relied on to be a good starter in 2023? My answer is no for that reason. I think Rodgers wants Cooks to play against him his entire career. Yeah, there's been some rumblings that they want to play. They want to play with each other, but there's been some rumors swirling out there about a bigger move that the Jets may look to make. Who, what, when, where? I don't know. I can tell you though, if they're gonna bring in like Mike Evans or something like that, like I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose. I think the Jets are like one good player away from truly being up there with the Chiefs. With the Bengals, with the Eagles. I think they're a slight tier below right now. Maybe, honestly, maybe they are even up there, but I think a move like Evans or something like that would like now we're number one with the Chiefs. I think that pushes even above the Bengals. I heard Gary V is covering that about 35 mil. Didn't his I don't know if he's involved in his sports agency thing, but isn't he signed with his brother, right? Like Vandercheck Sports or whatever. I think Saul signed with them, so that's good for them. The eventual owner of the Jets, Gary V. Even though, I guess talking about this really quickly, the Woody Johnson's making some friends right now. Now I know his social media game sucks. I hate the fact that he's so awkward. I hate the fact that every single time this year it was the gate of, hey, do you know who the starting quarterback is for the Jets this year? Do you know who you're going to be protecting this year? Like really weird to everybody. And then last year was him talking to somebody, oh, we're all really excited. And I get him looking around the room like, and everybody's like, oh, yeah, we're really excited. Like, it was just so awkward. So he's a little bit of like a stiff. But with that being said, like him releasing the new uniforms, which we're going to wear versus the Bills, versus the Chiefs, and then the black throwback is going to be versus the Dolphins on Black Friday. But with him releasing the jerseys, if you guys saw the 3 midfield logos, I don't love the logos in the midfield, like how they actually look. But with that being said, they're 10 times better than an NFL generic logo. So you have the 3 logos. You have the Jets black one for the blackout game. You have the normal base Jets one, and then you have the throwback Jets swoosh logo midfield, which I'm really a big fan of. And a lot of the if you go to buy the jerseys online, I believe it says something regarding the future. I forget exactly what the phrase is, but something regarding the future. I think the Jets see the reception to this. They see 20,000 jerseys get ordered. I ordered my jersey the night before Rodgers took his pay cuts. That was Tuesday night, right? He took his pay cut yesterday. I ordered the jersey the night before. I think it said it ships out in like October. So I think the Jets see how much fans wanted this jersey, know that they can rebrand again next year after this terrible rebrand that they did last time. I think they go back to these jerseys, and they add the green. Maybe they still have like an alternate throwback black. I don't know if they would do that still with these jerseys. But he's making some he's gaining back some fans right now with the jerseys, the midfield logos. It's all been great. And Woody Johnson does get somewhat of a bad rap, I think, in terms of like people say, oh, he's cheap and that stuff. I don't think Woody Johnson's ever been cheap. I think he's an idiot sometimes, for sure. Do I think he's cheap and doesn't do what it takes to win? No. And especially being a Mets fan, like you can't watch what the Wilpons did and then call Woody Johnson cheap. Like Woody Johnson's always been willing to spend. He just didn't spend it in the right places. But with the jerseys, with all that stuff, it's been obviously fantastic. Again, I ordered a Rodgers white. I was going to do a Garrett Wilson, but I just don't know if he's changing his number next year. So I threw it back to Rodgers, staying for 2 years, gave $35 million back. I'll be proud to rock a Rodgers this year. And obviously, hopefully, it doesn't go all downhill. But regardless, like he's a Hall of Fame quarterback who's playing for the Jets. Like let's throw that jersey on. So Blitz Crew with the $10 super shot. I appreciate that, my guy. Congratulations on the kid. With Brownlee so far, how are you feeling about Elijah Moore trade now? Our D-line sounds insane so far, including McDonald. Yeah, I don't think Brownlee changes anything, to be honest. And again, I'm not trying to be. I'm always honest with you guys. Regardless of how much Brownlee does in camp, does he really still make the roster? That's my question. I don't think so. I think he can impress. I severely doubt the Jets carry 6 receivers. I severely doubt it. You're going to carry 4 or 5 running backs, and Baldwin would be the 5th. You're going to carry 3 or 4 tight ends. You're carrying 2 You're carrying 2 quarterbacks, obviously, at the minimum. You're carrying at least 10 offensive linemen. If you start doing the math, figure out where you fit Brownlee in. Because bringing Brownlee in, Brownlee means no Baldwin. Okay, and even if Brownlee doesn't mean Baldwin, or because Baldwin might be not be on the team regardless, Brownlee means no, I don't know, 6th linebacker. So we start doing the math. I doubt that Brownlee makes it. And with Elijah Moore, a lot of people say like, oh, the Jets traded him for a 3rd round pick or a 2nd round pick, whatever. They traded him and a 3rd for a 2nd. So you really traded up 1 round for Elijah Moore. You did not get a 2nd round pick for Elijah Moore. So they lost out on that trade, in my opinion. That was the first bad trade that Joe Douglas has made. I don't think he got proper value for what Elijah Moore could be. I think Elijah Moore, if used properly, could be a 1,000-yard receiver for many years in the NFL. I do think he has legitimate talent. So I don't think Brownlee changes my opinion. Like, oh, Brownlee's going to be just as good as Elijah Moore was. Now, with all that being said, did Elijah Moore still have to be traded regardless because of what he did in the locker room last year and potential like the cancer he brought to the locker room? Yeah, like I think you still had to trade him. With that being said, I don't think they got proper value, and Brownlee does not, because of a couple good camp plays, does that subdue what Elijah Moore was going to be? I don't think so. And Brownlee's making plays. With that being said, if you watch the Brownlee play of him today, again, just being transparent, he rips Sauce Gardner's face mask like to the ground, and then he's wide open for a touchdown. Why? Because it was offensive pass interference. Like if you watch that video, there's no reason Sauce reacts like that other than his face mask getting dragged to the ground. So yeah, he made a play that would have been an OPI, and other than that, yeah, he made a nice play from like Zach Wilson down the field and all that stuff. But if I had to bet, I'm still saying 80-90% sure that he's not even going to make the roster regardless. So with that being said, next part, our D-line sounds insane so far, including McDonald. Yeah, we've been getting really, really good reports, and I appreciate the $10 super chat again, Blitz Crew. The entire D-line's been sounding really good, right? Like JJ's bulked up. He's sounding a lot better, being more decisive. We're seeing McDonald, and it's not even McDonald like blowing up every play, but you hear people talking about McDonald, and like it's translating in terms of his bend, his flexibility, his get off. You see plenty of beat reporters like, holy shit, like this guy gets off the line really, really quick. And if you just let him fly and you let him play at wide 9, he doesn't have to think. He doesn't have to two gap. He doesn't have to try to, spill a run like he did at Iowa State. I think he's going to make an impact. So I'm really excited about him. And then even Huff's making plays. JJ's making plays. JFM's making plays. Q has been dominating apparently. So the defensive line has been ferocious so far. So I'm really, really excited for the whole crew. But yeah, in terms of Brownlee making a few plays in camp does not erase my memory of Elijah Moore, even though you still had to trade him. And even with that being said, again, I severely doubt Brownlee makes a roster unless he really, really, really continues the ball out. But I would relax a little bit on Brownlee so far. That's all I'm saying. Just because it's only been a couple of days, right? So let's see. Okay, you guys are lighting up. You guys are throwing me down in the chat. Oh damn. Okay. I love Becton, but big man has been out of football for a while. I love the idea of what Becton can be, but I haven't loved him the last couple of years. I don't love his social media stuff. So he's got to play. He's got to play. He's got to play well. He's playing for a contract, so we'll see. I would say so far, stock up or down in camp, stock down. With him, and I get you have to be careful and all that stuff, but like I want to see team period every day. Him not practicing the other day because Salah said his knee couldn't handle it. Dude, like we're in July. If your knee can't handle it, is it going to be able to handle another 20, 25 weeks of wear and tear on it? I don't know. I'm concerned. Like Simon is. Now how concerned? I think is a conversation. But if you're saying there's not slight concern there, I think you're lying. If the Jets start Becton, he becomes a liability instantly to the quarterback he's trying to protect. They need to move on from Becton at this point. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going that far, Eagle, because I still rather have Becton than Turner or Mitchell starting. It's not just getting rid of him for the point of getting rid of him. It's getting rid of him and who's replacing him. You rather have Becton than Mitchell? And even if you're going to say, okay, I want Becton or Mitchell over Becton because I like Mitchell for whatever reason over him, fine. But even as backups, we'd rather have Turner or Becton. If you answer Turner, you're wrong. There is no wiggle room there. You're wrong. So do you get rid of him? No, it's not going to happen. So Becton needs to play in a run first offense. He's not a great pass blocker based on his pass production. Yeah. If I were the Jets, I'd make sure Cook doesn't leave. I don't think he's leaving the facility. I'm 85-90% confident he's going to sign with the Jets one of the next couple of days. Aaron isn't kept upright. All this a waste. Yeah, I'm not gonna say it's all a waste, but if you don't keep any of your quarterbacks up, it's kind of a waste, right? Like you need some semblance of an offensive line that can hold up. I'm not saying you need elite guys, but you need something, especially for guys who are getting less mobile. It's not like he's immobile, but he's definitely less mobile. And we could talk about Kansas City and their offensive line a couple of years ago when they won the Super Bowl. Their offensive line was pretty ass, but you have Patrick Mahomes, and he has a lot more mobility in the year he won the Super Bowl with a bad offensive line than Aaron Rodgers has right now. So, if your offensive line sucks, it's definitely going to diminish what Rodgers is bringing. You're not going to allow him to go through his reads to hit those deep balls. So they better figure that shit out. That's for sure. Animan? I don't know if that's how you pronounce the name, but let's keep moving down in the chat. Jalen Ramsey and Joe Burrow. Yeah, Joe Burrow got called off. Seemed like a calf thing, like a minor calf thing. Jalen Ramsey seemingly had like a hamstring knee injury, non-contact thing. But knock on wood, I'm not rooting for any players to get injured. When you hear the type of stuff you heard with Ramsey, it's probably an Achilles or an ACL, or probably Achilles is lower, so it's probably an ACL for Ramsey, which will severely diminish their defense because he's still a good corner. I don't think Ramsey's still a top 5 guy. Top 10, 15. Okay, I'm cool with that. But Xavier Howard he was bad last year. So if Howard's your number 1 and he's covering Wilson, good luck. So that sucks. You have to root for. You have to root for him to be healthy. Now, with that being said, being completely transparent, I am not the guy. I'm never going to root for injuries. Now, if the Jets are going to play, let's say Miami's week 10, right? Something like that, week 10, and you'll have people like, you'll have Jalen Ramsey on like questionable to play, and people will be like, "Oh, I want to play them at their best and beat Jalen Ramsey too." I am the complete opposite as a Jets fan. I've seen a lot of shit. I just want to win the game. So their best players not playing, I love it. So keep them injured. I'm cool with that. I don't need to beat your best players. It's still a win. It's not going to say lost, but Ramsey played, or win, but Ramsey didn't play. I don't give a shit. I don't get to the playoffs. So, here's what it is. Cap hit on Rodgers is $8.8 million after the rework. Yeah, I said $9 million, but yeah, technically 8.8. I guess, but Snoopy Camp is scary. Camp is terrifying, especially the Jets. Like last year, we were pretty solid. This year, I'm hoping that the Jets just offered Chuck Clark to the gods, and he was their sacrifice, and we're all going to be healthy because of that. Because he was so early, it was out of nowhere. He was sacrificed. He was the GOAT being brought to the top of the pyramid, and now the gods are going to leave us alone. That's what I'm hoping for, but we'll see. I that's the only thing I care about for camp for the most part is injuries. So, Spooner says Carter opened his mouth and was with more. We know what happens when people say things while on this team. I see Carter getting traded and signing Cook. Carter, I think he's on thin ice. That could be a thing too. Like they could have not loved how he responded last year and his mindset after James Robinson was brought in, etc. And even though they might think, and it's hard to put words in their mouth, but even if they think Carter may be a slightly better player than Knight, they might not love what he did last year and how he acted. How he scrubbed the Jets, and they might trade him. Or it could be a thing where even if they like him more than Zonovan Knight maybe fetches them a 7th-round pick, and Carter, fetches them a 5th, and they think that the value is, okay, keep Knight on the team and get that 5th-round pick for Carter. Like, we'll see. But if Cook is brought in, one of Carter or Knight is gone. That just is what it is. Jonah Williams is available, I think. Don't want, but at least he stayed. No, I'm pretty sure he actually doesn't stay healthy. Jonah Williams. So I'm pretty sure Jonah Williams has not been healthy and he's not been good. So you have a guy who's not been healthy, not been good, who's on a team who's trying to win the Super Bowl. Why are they trading him to us? If the Bengals are trying to trade a starting offensive tackle, I believe he's still on the Bengals. That's a very bad sign. You have to look to some of the shittier teams for their tackles, because no good team is going to trade an offensive tackle, a starting offensive tackle. So, yeah. Cook is much better than Carter, no doubt. I think it's somewhat arguable. Like if you're going to talk about Carter's 2022 season, his 2021 season, his rookie year versus Cook last year, maybe there's an argument. But Cook has a track record, and this is what we talked about last week. Like, right now in a vacuum, to choose Carter or Cook, I think Cook is the right answer. But I could see Carter, if he bounces back, being better than Cook this year, if you feel what I'm saying. But because of track record, I'm saying it's Cook. That's if Cook's numbers, his advanced analytics, actually match up to the film. If they don't, then no chance. But the advanced analytics would disagree with you there, Simon. But I'll see. With all this O-line being subjectively real, all this positivity going into the season, no, not yet. It's July. Any word of McDonald? No, I haven't really heard too much about McDonald, Richard, but I have heard that he's been very bendy, very flexible, and it's at least translating. You're seeing the athleticism translate, which is all you can ask for at this point. If he's flashing on an NFL field for a younger football player, and I know people will say, "Oh, he's 23 years old." I'm talking about younger in terms of years played. He's only played since his junior year of high school. He's a lot of room to grow. He's still relatively raw, but to see him flashing at camp is important, and he's been doing that. So he's been flashing, and that's obviously a good thing. Simon says, Greg the Leg is killing in camp. Yeah, I've been hearing that a lot too. Every day. I think, I'm not sure exactly who it was. Maybe it was Jets Talk. Maybe it was Ryan from Jets Talk today. It was like 54, 55, 56 yarder, just hit. And like every other day, it's like 5 for 5, 6 for 6, all this stuff. So it's nice to have special teams that we're not overly concerned about. I don't think Zerline is Justin Tucker or anything like that, but I think he's solid enough. And I think you have one of the upper echelon punters in Morstead as well. So you got to be excited about special teams. So make sure the little one has his T-steps. Yeah, his T-steps down. There you go. T-steps, quarter steps. Yeah, he'll know a good amount about football. That's for sure. Joe, who gets your bigger props for how everything came to be with Aaron Rodgers and now the massive salary cut? Woody Johnson, Salah, Joe Douglas? I think it's a combination of all. I don't think it's much of Woody, to be honest. I think it's a combination of Salah and Douglas and the team, really. I think Rodgers took a leap of faith coming here a little bit in terms of exactly how he'd fit in the environment, not just with the team. He really enjoyed the fan base. He enjoys going to games. He enjoys the theater. He enjoys the teammates. He enjoys Saleh, his direction. He appreciates Joe Douglas and what he's done and bringing the rookies of the year and all, all the attention they gave him in terms of like flying out there and meeting with him. It's a combination, but I would say it's mostly Saleh and Douglas and just the Jets in general, the fan base, everything. Like how much more welcoming could we be to a guy? So he's been enjoying, for lack of a better term, his balls off the last 3 months. And now he's like, fuck it. Like, I'm staying, bro. Like, it's great team set up for success for multiple years. They traded a lot for me. I'm staying for more than 1 year. And here's $35 million back to go get a Dalvin Cook and a Quan and, whoever else, Devontae Adams in 2024 if they don't win it this year. Now I know that he came out and kind of said, like, if it's a magical year, or something like that, aka if we win the Super Bowl, maybe he'll retire. Go ahead. Win the Super Bowl, go ahead. I don't give a shit. You guys don't give a shit. So he's going to be here for 2 years, maybe 3, unless he wins Super Bowl, which, again, can you imagine? Which, in my case, I know it's going to happen. Maybe it'll be a week or 2 late. Super Bowl kickoff for like fourth quarter overtime game-winning kick, and I'll be driving to the hospital. It's going to be like during the divisional game, during the conference championship game, and I'm gonna have an AirPod in while I'm driving, watching the game, and my wife's gonna lose it. I have bad luck with that stuff, so it's gonna be great and terrible at the same time. Hawk, what's up, man? If Becton can't go, who else is star material? Nobody. Not right now. Nobody. Mitchell could be. Obviously, you have to hope that he took another step up and he gained more play strength than what he had last year because he obviously struggled with his play strength. But that's a leap. I don't think you've seen anything from any of these players that's actually been out there, like actual tangible film. There's nobody on the team right now who deserves to be a starter. It's definitely not Turner. It's definitely not Mitchell. Who else are we even talking about? Turner, Mitchell, Becton. If Becton's not there, it's Kajust, absolutely not. So nobody. It's I'm concerned. They might bring a tackle. They really might. I don't know. I would truly ruin my pants if we ended up with Mike Evans. I think 130. Let's say 100 of the 136 in here would ruin their pants. That would be fucking exciting. Like Mike Evans is still a really really good player. Blue, do you think we need to sign another tackle? What's your thoughts on Becton? Yeah, I kind of mentioned it before, Hawk. I am concerned. It's not like that I expected him to go full or to be a full go from the beginning of camp, but like not going at all yesterday, today, just individuals, not team. His knee is obviously not healthy right now. It's not healthy enough to consistently play. He's had 2 knee injuries to that same knee in years past. If you had to bet, is he making it half the season? I'm not even saying the full season. If you had to bet right now, your entire bank account on him making half the season, how many people are legitimately going to say yes? I know the hope is there that you want him to, but if you had to bet, and if I had to bet, I would say he doesn't even make it half the season, which is a shitty thing to say, but I'm just trying to be realistic about it. So I am concerned. If it were me, I think the next biggest move for the Jets would be to trade for a tackle. Trade for one. Not even sign one, trade for one. Who is on their last year or 2 of their deal, who you're not going to re-sign because you're going to want too much money. Maybe a guy who's 27, 28 years old, who you don't want to give him a contract at 29, 30 years old because you're not going to compete for more years anyway, or for many more years anyway. Find one of those guys who has another year or 2 on their deal on a shitty team. Research them, and that's who we should be talking about. Maybe I'll do that next week, and we'll start to look through some tackles because if he keeps battling injuries, I'm telling you right now, the Jets coaching staff and Rodgers are not dumb enough to watch Billy Turner and say, yeah, that's our guy at tackle this year. There's just no way. Absolutely no way. Roster is better than Casey. Casey is Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones, and everyone else. Yeah, I agree with you, G. If you actually, and maybe I should have phrased it a little bit different or better. If you compare the Jets roster with the Chiefs 1-for-1 minus quarterback, they're a better team than the Chiefs. Mahomes, you're taking him over Rodgers at this point, right? Obviously. Andy Reid makes a big, big difference. So our roster has to be a step above theirs just to account for Andy Reid. So we have to factor them in as well. We don't have Andy Reid. We have Saleh. Let's see. I'm hearing Aaron Donald is available for no. He's $31 million. We don't even have that in cap space. He's not going to trade into the Jets. But can you imagine? Simon, who wins the center job right now? I know it's McGovern starting with the first group. Now, with that, whether it be McDonald, whether it be Tippmann, whether it be any young player, you guys have to. And I'm saying you guys, or at least people who don't realize this, have to realize. Sauce started as like corner 4 last year. Garrett Wilson didn't even play until the second half of the first game, pretty much. Like, regardless of how low they are on the depth chart, your concern meter should be like 0 because of those guys not playing last year. So even though Tippmann is not starting right now, even if he was out playing McGovern, the Jets are going to give the job to McGovern right now, even just to make Tippmann earn it more. So him starting right now has nothing to do with later on in the season. Now, I'm not saying it doesn't. I'm not saying that McGovern won't start, but don't buy too much into him Tippmann not playing right now. With that being said, who do I think wins it? I would say I think Tippmann wins it. Now, is that week 1? Is that week 6? Is that preseason? I'm not sure exactly when, but I think if Tippmann and McGovern are somewhat close, they'll give it to Tippmann because he's the future. But with that being said, how does Rodgers feel about that? If Rodgers is like, hey, no, I want a guy who could look at fronts with me and help me out, whatever it may be, then they're going to give it to McGovern. So that one is probably going to have Rodgers involved a little bit as well. And obviously, McGovern's going to do a lot less with Rodgers than he had to do with Mike White and Zach Wilson. But you never know if Rodgers wants a veteran there. So it's a little bit hard to say. But I would say if I had to bet the Jets want Tippmann to win, and he probably will. But I can see McGovern just as easy. It's like a 51-49 situation to me. So, by the way, I don't know if I talked. I think I mentioned this to you guys as well. Dallas. If anybody's going to Dallas, let me know. Dallas, we're going to light that place up. And my rule, if you go to away stadiums, is you have to do your absolute best to make the opposing fans and the opposing team realize that you're there. So you got to be loud. And if you're going to a game, you have to wear green. Like, that's my rule. Whatever game I go to, I try to wear the color that team does not have. Because if you wear a white jersey versus the Cowboys, you're going to blend in. If you wear a green jersey, you're playing the Packers, you're going to blend in. So you got to wear colors that the team doesn't wear. So I pretty much never wear a white jersey to away games. It's always green or black if that team does not have it. So let's go to Dallas in green jerseys, and let's light it up there. Because I'm excited. I'm going to come back like 20 pounds heavier, having the best barbecue ever. I'm really pumped about that one. I think I'm going Thursday through Monday in Dallas. Number 8 cap it this year is 8. Is it really, Richter? Or are you just fucking with me? It's $8,888,888. Are you sure? Is it really that? I didn't see that, but that's hilarious. And good pickup if you actually saw that. Wish they had green legacy jerseys. They could have green legacy jerseys, but if they did, they'd have to get rid of their blacks. Right? Or no, the blacks are an alternate. The black helmets are the alternate and all that. So maybe they wouldn't have to get rid of their blacks. I don't know. I think they switched to those, to be honest, Rusty. I really do think that these throwbacks are going to be the primaries next year. When you see the reaction from the Jets fan base and how pumped up they were about this, I don't think you go back. Like, we didn't even wear green last year. Maybe once. Dolphins? Was the Dolphins game green? Other than that, I can't think of any green games. Do you think Zach Wilson should be QB3 because if he's a top 50 QB, then he'll be a fine backup? Do you think Zach should be QB3 because if he's a top 50 QB, then he'll be a fine backup? Are you asking, like, is he not even a top 50 guy? If you're asking if he's a good backup in this league at this point, he's not. Like, you could look at a lot of different guys, whatever it may be. There's a lot of better backups in the league than him. It's sad to say. Like, we have to realize at a certain point last year, he was benched for Joe Flacco. You had him getting booed, and Shrevler came, who was just playing the CFL. He was not a good QB2 last year. Like, there was no team. If you were to take him in a vacuum and say, this is the play of the guy last year, no information, no age, no contract, nothing. Do you want this guy to be your QB2 for this next season? There's not one team out of 32 going to say yes. It's just really now when you factor in, okay, he's a number. He's a top draft pick from a couple of years ago. You can develop him. Then there will be teams who will take the risk on that. But just in a vacuum, his numbers and what he did on film, there's not a team who would take him as a backup. I think I'm being realistic. I don't think that's too harsh to say. He was not one of the best 64 quarterbacks. Maybe I'm being a little bit hyperbolic and I have to actually look at the backup quarterbacks. in the league, but I could say right now that I don't think he's a good backup. And you guys don't think he's a good backup because you wouldn't be talking about it. If Zach Wilson has to come in for one game to win the AFC East, is anybody confident in it? And I'm not saying you'll be confident in any backup quarterback, but are you more confident in Chase Daniel, Mike White? Obviously he's gone now, but he's a backup. Teddy Bridgewater, Nick Foles, Matt Ryan. I'm taking any one of those guys over Zach, which is terrible to say, but it's true. Bawden is the reason why I could see the Jets not giving 6 wide receivers. Yeah, Daniel Murphy. And then you factor in, you have the 5-star offensive lineman, right? And then we got what? We got Turner, Mitchell. We got Turner, Mitchell. And then at backup, and then backup interior, you got Tippmann, you got Cologne, you got you have Schweitzer. So you have at least 10 offensive linemen making the team, in my opinion. And then you factor in 10. Okay, so that's 10. You have 2 quarterbacks, that's 12. You have 4 running backs, that's 16. 5 receivers, that's 20. That's 21. You have 3 tight ends, that's 24. Now you're talking about 24 already out of 53 players. You have 3 special team spots, so now you have 27 players overall. Now you only have 27 spots for defense as well, and you're carrying at least 10 defensive linemen. 4 or 5 linebackers. 6 corners. Like, trust me, try to do the roster gymnastics with keeping Brownlee, and see the guys are going to keep him over. I don't see it happening. I don't see it. Because I want the Wilson jersey now, because it becomes an all-pro receiver for years to come. At 17 jerseys and become a collector's item. Wayne Corbett preseason jersey number 3. You can't even find it. Yeah, sure, but I just want the jerseys he's gonna wear. Like, I don't care about collectors. I just want the 5 he's gonna wear 5. An awkward guy calling out another awkward guy. Lol. And most millionaires are awkward. I guess you're calling me awkward. Thank you, but sure. Okay. I'm just calling him awkward. I'm not trying to get anybody offended about me calling him awkward. But yeah, I guess I'm awkward too. Thanks. At least we got those white throwback legacy jerseys though. Baby steps, I guess. They're gonna change. Every team can carry an extra QB. A team can carry an extra quarterback on the active game day roster, not on the 53. There's not 54 spots now. There is an extra spot on the game day roster. So on the game day roster, you typically carry, is it 47 or 48? The third quarterback does not count against that 47 or 48, but you don't get an extra roster spot in your 53 because of a quarterback. So you can't just carry Zach Wilson for nothing. That is not true. Christopher Phillips, the Jets are going to make a big move. I don't know what it is, but it's huge. Yeah, it seems like it's. I think some wheels are turning for something big happening. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think it's going to happen. So we have to get off a good season to Cook will help a very good start to the season, obviously, right? So Brownlee will definitely earn a spot in the 53 roster. Okay. Again, Sean, make your 53 and tell me who's making you over, because you're not. I guarantee you're not carrying 10 defensive linemen, 10 offensive linemen. Your 6 receivers, your four running backs. It's easy to say, yeah, he makes it, until you actually try to do the gymnastics about it. I think Brownlee is probably a practice squad guy. I would put some money. I would put some money on whoever's willing to bet that he doesn't make the 53. And I'm not trying to be a downer. He can impress. I just don't see a spot for him. He's not making it over Cobb. So I just don't see them making it a 6 receiver depth chart. It's possible. It's definitely possible. I just wouldn't bet on it. Who else can start at right tackle if Becton can't go? Doesn't look good. Yeah, it doesn't. It doesn't. I would personally try Mitchell first there. And another good question from Mike says, would you re-sign Fant? To me, I'd rather have Fant than Turner. Now, obviously, Rodgers has some familiarity with Turner, so he's probably not going to get cut or anything like that. But I'd rather have Fant over Cajuste, that's for sure. So if you're going to carry 5 tackles, right? We got Turner, Brown, Mitchell, Turner, Fant. Like, get rid of Cajuste and bring me back Fant. I'm okay with that. So that's something that I would look to do. But maybe they trade for one. Maybe that's the big move. It's Snoopy. Ramen is on the decline, and Wilson also tweaked his ankle. It's Snoopy? Is Sean Bennett Snoopy as well? I don't know. No, unless you're talking to yourself. Oh, it's Snoopy. Okay, sorry. You guys are talking to each other. I'm always injured. Yeah, Jonathan Richter. I'm not trying to, well, I don't know how old you are. I don't know if that's actually you in your picture, but you're looking like 50 plus there, so I'm sure. Dude, 2 days after my 30th birthday, I was making coffee in the morning and I sneezed too hard. I threw out my back for a day. I was like, holy shit, it's coming. So I get it. purge the malcontents. This is why I wanted OBJ. To be honest, I wouldn't be scared if Garrett went down with OBJ out there. Yeah, sure, but no. Like at the same time, Snoopy, how much has OBJ played in the last 3 years? So if Garrett Wilson goes down there and be sitting there like shit, OBJ is gonna go down too. Like it's Corey Davis is more reliable in terms of like being out there than OBJ over the last couple of years. So I don't think that's a great move. I would rather have brought in a Hopkins or trade for Mike Evans and OBJ, but that's just me. So let's see. McDonald had 2 more sacks today. Again, camp, that's kind of sketchy too. Okay. Knight Carter, in my opinion. Yeah, I'm completely cool with either with anybody saying whoever they prefer in those guys. I don't think one's a shoo-in over the other. I would just personally buy into Carter's bigger sample size than Knight's bigger sample size. So, Joe, what do you think of Calvin Beachum, Cardinals tackle? Think we can get a guy like that for a future late rounder? How has he even been playing the last couple of years? Like, I don't even know. And he's a left tackle, right? So you're not going to play him at right tackle, I don't believe. But how old? You're really going to make me look this shit up, Hawk. Calvin Beachum age. He's still decent. Oh, he's 34. I don't know how he's been, but if you're telling me like, hey, you know, if Becton's getting injured and all this stuff, and they bring in Calvin Beachum for a 6th round pick, okay, I'm cool with it. I think the Jets make a move at tackle. I don't think they're thrilled with what they've been seeing and from Becton. Maybe I'm wrong. Like saying his knee can't go the other day. Really? Can't go? Like he's not practicing at all, not even individuals? I don't know. Yeah. Expert dealer. We talked about this right to kick off the show. He's a loser. Like it is what it is. You're giving the Jets more fire. I love the fact that Salah clapped back, but I'm not gonna get all into it again. I already kind of mentioned it, but it's a joke, you know, for him to be mentioning the Jets and to be calling them out like he is. You don't really see a lot of coaches do that, so I think it's pretty low class from him, which is surprising. But so why keep Bawden if Rucker can do the same blocking job? I think you're assuming a lot there. Bawden is more proven than Rucker in terms of blocking. You know, Rucker did it for a game. Let me say that again. Rucker did it for a game. Now, can the Jets do the Jets see a lot more in practice and they decide, yeah, he can? Sure. But that's not something we've seen. We can't say Rucker could do the same blocking job because of one game. So let's say Broncos. I don't think they're going 3-14. I think they're too good of I think they have too many good players on the team to go 3-14. I would say more like 7-8 win team, something like that. So I want the splash move to be so badly to be Devontae Adams. Can you imagine? Can you imagine if we get a ticker right now that Devontae Adams is traded to the Jets? Like Jesus Christ. George Fant is available, I'm pretty sure. I think he worked out for the Texans or something the other day. And is that bridge burner? It's possible. We have no idea what no line we have. I still can't believe JD took Becton over Wirfs and Zach Wilson. Adam Smith. Okay. Yeah, revisionist history a little bit there. Like Zach Wilson over Penny Sewell. I don't think any person in the world expected us to take Penny Sewell over Zach Wilson. They had to take a quarterback there. So will McDonald look insane at camp? Do you think by the end of the year he could be a full-time starter? I don't. I don't think there's any way. Just realistically, you had Dwayne Johnson last year who played like 25% of the reps or 30% of the reps. You had Huff who was dominating, who only played like 20% of the reps. McDonald's not going to not that he can't develop into a full-time, edge setter even this year. And if it is this year, great. But is he ever going to be given rundown reps over JJ or JFM on the edge? He's not. So even if he improves in that and shows he's good enough to do it, he's never going to be better, or he's not going to be better this year than JFM or JJ. So I don't think there's any chance of him being a full-time starter, like full-time. So KC O-line is also better and proven. Yeah, I agree with that too. Joe being loud is going to lead to fights. Just be quiet when rooting. No, like sure. I don't know, Steven. I've been to 8 or 9 away games so far. I haven't gotten in a fight yet. Not that we haven't been close in some stadiums, but maybe the Cowboys. Yeah, maybe they would do something, but I don't know, dude. Like we're going with a group of like 6 or 7 of us, so it's not like there's one of us. So if there's like 7 dudes, it's like okay, okay, do whatever. The problem is my job. Like I can't get involved in any of that shit at all. But yeah, no, I don't know. I'm pretty loud to go to opposing stadiums. I don't care. Late, long time. Oh, what's up, Kev? Is Sam Darnold a better backup QB than Zach Wilson? Yes. right? Like people are like, holy shit, like you're crazy. But did Sam Darnold prove more than Zach Wilson did as a Jets quarterback? The answer is yes. I don't think the answer could ever be no. I think if you were saying yes, then you're lying to yourself. Sam Darnold did more than Zach Wilson did with a lot less. So if I had to bank right now, Sam Darnold versus Zach Wilson, one of them starting a game for the Jets, who's going to win the game? I'm putting my money on Sam Darnold over Zach Wilson. You guys think I'm crazy? Maybe. I think a lot of you actually probably agree with me if you're going to not be biased about it. Is Brownlee making the team? I would say not. I just don't think there's a spot. Nose kills. I kind of half seriously hope Rodgers would take Zach to drink some ayahuasca so to get that total reset they wanted to have last season. Sure, dude. Like, explore your mentality and psychedelics and do whatever the fuck you want to do. Like, for the people who shit on Rodgers for that, like, I don't know. Are you just like a square? Like, I don't want to like speak about any of that stuff. Like, I don't mind people doing that shit. Like, I don't mind people doing LSD. I don't mind people doing mushrooms. I don't mind people doing a lot of stuff. Like just like you look at, and I'm not even gonna get into all this stuff, but like you look at how weed is viewed. It's not because of what weed is. It's because of the idea around weed and how when it was brought into the country, it was by people who Americans didn't necessarily like, and they labeled it like the devil's grass and all that stuff. So a lot of what we think about the drug is because of past ideas that were false. So is it the same thing with like mushrooms and ayahuasca and all that shit? Like, I don't know, but you explore yourself. You do your own shit. Like, people who are like, oh, weed is terrible. It's like, yeah, tell me how it's worse than drinking alcohol. Go ahead. And I'll wait there for 10 days because the only reason you're going to give me is kids lose brain cells. Cool. Gotcha. And the only other reason it's going to say is, okay, lung cancer. Okay. Gotcha. But I don't go to many bar fights because people are too high. I go to a lot of bar fights and people dying in car accidents because of alcohol. So, like, I don't want to get to the whole thing, but it's a little bit crazy how people like shit on Rodgers for that. Like, do you, dude? I couldn't care any less. As long as you're not hurting other people, fucking do ayahuasca every day. Not to get into a whole tangent there. Ramsey's going to undergo surgery. ACL is intact, expecting to miss start of season. Okay. Carrying 9 defensive linemen. 9? Let's see. Okay, so Lawson, McDonald, JJ, Huff, JFM, Q, Woods, Jefferson. Am I forgetting? Lawson, McDonald, JJ, Huff. Who am I forgetting? Lawson, McDonald, JJ, Huff, Q, Woods, Jefferson, Clemens. That's not. I guess so. You're not carrying Thomas. I think they're going to carry Thomas. I think you probably have 10, and Thomas is that 10th guy that you're forgetting right there. Now should that be the case? Maybe not. I don't think Thomas necessarily deserves to make the team over maybe a Brownlee. I think the Jets like Thomas a lot, maybe more than they should. So, okay. Honestly speaking, the only definite loss I see is the first 7 games is Philly. I don't think there's any definite loss for the Jets. Now, with Philly, like, do we really like 13 games in a row to Philly? Is it 13 or 12? Like, holy shit, man. So, I really don't think there's any definite losses. Like the Eagles last year. Let's see the Eagles schedule. Eagles schedule 2022. Let's see who they lost to last year. They lost to the Cowboys last year. Are we a better team than the Cowboys? You never know week to week. I'm not going to say the Jets are ever out of it in a game. They beat the Lions by 3 points last year. They beat the Cardinals by 3 points last year. They lost to the Commanders by 11 points last year. They beat the Colts by 1 point last year. They lost to the Cowboys. They beat the Bears by 5 points last year. They lost to the Saints by 10 points last year. They beat the Giants by only a touchdown last year. Are we sure Jets can't beat them? I'm not buying it. I'm not buying it, Gene Smith. I'm not buying it. So practice squad guy, hope no one's seen the skill that Brownlee has. It's just like it's camp. I get it. I get the hype, but we've had plenty of guys in the past who have really made noise in camp. Trenton Cannon or whoever it was. Was his name Morris from North Carolina a couple of years ago? Who was making noise? Obviously, we know Clyde Gates making noise. It's been a couple of days. Would love for a young guy to make the team who's balling out at camp. I would love for him to be the next Allen Lazard, if not even better than Allen Lazard. Do I see a way that a 6 receiver is making the roster regardless of how well they're playing? I don't. Now, unless he really, really balls out, but I need more substantial evidence than just a couple of training camp tweets. So, can you summarize how this offensive scheme will be different from other? It's like that's really hard to do, just because they're both West Coast schemes. The tight ends will be a little bit more involved in this. I think you're going to see more screen action, more quick screen action with this system. But it's West Coast, more tight end emphasis than in years past, just in terms of being like the primary concept or the primary read on some concepts where they're more of like an afterthought for the Jets. And then it's all about like what preferences do they have in terms of like concepts. Like you have the Jets, one of their primary concepts last year was a spin concept, but you have a guy on the inside who will run like a 5 to 7 yard hitch, and then he has an option to break it in, to sit it down, or break it out. So it's an option route on the inside, and onto the outside you have a 12-yard dig over the top of it, and it's called a spin concept. Like that's something that all West Coast systems most likely have, but how frequent do you call them? We called them a shitload last year, whereas with Hackett, it's a West Coast system, but he's much more mesh based, a bunch of different meshes. Mesh rail versus mesh sit versus general mesh versus overs versus unders versus tight mesh. Like there's so many different meshes in general. Yeah. So I would say a little bit more tight end emphasis, a little bit more quick screen action to the running backs, and I would say more mesh than what the Jets run last year. But there's more we can get into with that. So Zach was better, and he led us to 0 wins, but was well enough to not lose the games like Mike White did with 0 red. Hawk, I think you kind of know you're defending Zach Wilson too much just recently or in general. If you're gonna try to argue that Mike White was better is worse than Zach Wilson last year, I don't know, man. I don't know. Is it time to call it? Becton is the last man standing of that draft class, and not for long. Is the B word in order? It's creeping up. It's creeping up. Now, I think there's different levels of bust, right? Like there's a bust like Hackenberg, who shouldn't have never seen an NFL field. And there's busts like D. Milner, who actually had some solid games his rookie year, but can never stay healthy. I don't think Becton's a bust because of his talent. He may be a bust because of injury. We'll see. We have plenty of time, but I would lie to you guys, and I think people are lying to you if they say their panic meter is not slightly up over the last couple of days with Becton. So if we lose Garrett Wilson, this is from Kev Chada. If we lose Garrett Wilson for any time, we only have wide receiver 3s. If we lose any edge, we have just as good of a replacement. That's why JSM over Will still makes sense. Yeah, we can get that whole argument a different day, and I completely get that point, Kev. I do. I don't think it's a bad point, but I think the Jets just had Will McDonald much higher than JSN. And JSN was, let's say, a B on their board, and McDonald was an A-, and you're talking about a substantial grade difference. You take the best player. You don't, and like that's a saying for a lot of teams. You don't draft for this year, and they took the best player on their board clearly. So, yeah, Calvin. Any big offensive tackles out in the market or in the trade mill? I don't know. I think what you could do if you're curious about it would be to go to all the tackles contracts in the league. Look at bad teams with tackles up in a year or two who are a little bit older. Like if you're talking like a 28-year-old tackle who's up in a year or two, or up in a year or two on the Bears or something like. Well, maybe not the Bears if they young quarterback, but you feel what I'm saying. Like the Bucks. Okay, look at that guy. Look at that guy. I don't know. Let's see. Sean Bennett, I'll bet you if you're willing, it's only a little bit. $20. Call it $20, Sean. If you're gonna agree to it, I'm cool with it. Handshake agreement, $20. Not that I'm not rooting for him. I just don't think it, but I'll go $20 with you. And then if he doesn't, you better be on here because every time I see you, I will ask. I'll send you $20 if he makes it. If you want to agree to it. Any update on Quan? Been out of the loop for a bit. No updates. He did tweet something about getting ready for camp yesterday. So a lot of Jets fans were like, holy shit, he's about to sign. So I think fans are thinking that he's starting to, foreshadow that he's going to sign somewhere soon. But that's about it. So, what are the odds Tony Adams becomes a solid starter this year? I would say it's like 50-50, which I think is probably higher than it sounds. But I have some faith. I think Tony Adams is the better bet to start at free safety over like an Amos for the rest of the year. I think Adams could be decent. I do. So, let's see. Ramsey's going to miss 6 to 8 weeks. When do we play them? What week is it? Like 10, it's like 10, right? Because it's November 28th or whatever. It's like the day after Thanksgiving, so it's like the 28th. So we're gonna see him, right? 6 to 8 weeks, okay. Big news: trade Bryce Hall for the Finns for a fourth. I think he gets traded as well, actually, Casey. I don't think he makes the roster. I think he gets traded. Burrow strained calf. Okay. I read Blitz report. 2 motherfuckers. Becton is 70% of bust. Max Mitchell will start. Mitchell will start if Becton's not healthy. With McColl and Corey's injury history and Cobb's age, I can't see how Brownlee doesn't make the 53. He was taking reps with special teams, which is a sign they may want him as a wide receiver. That's a good point, Hawk. Again, it's just about roster gymnastics. Again, you're not going to do it, but go make the 53 and then see who you have to get off the roster for Brownlee to make it, and then see if you're so confident in making it. It's not just about should or shouldn't he. It's he makes the roster over who. Over who. There's a lot of guys there. They're going to carry 9 or 10 offensive linemen. I really doubt they carry any less than 10. It's on what last year. And this year, the defensive line, they're probably carrying 10 as well, right? Unless you're counting them carrying 9 and Solomon Thomas being out of there. But you're talking about a leader in the locker room, a guy who Salah loves, a recipient of best man of the year award, whatever it is. I don't know. So let's see. I'm going to run through the rest of the notes I have. If you have anything else in the chat, let me know. Obviously, throw it in there. I think Wayne and Robbie are starting in 20 minutes, so I kind of got to get out of here. Conklin's been looking good. Some other notes that I've seen the last couple of days, like formulating them into kind of just a big grouping. Conklin's been good. Awesome. Brownlee, Gibson, wide receiver 6. Mentioned those guys. Brownlee's been the shoe-in, but Gibson's been making, I think it's Xavier Gibson's been making some plays as well. Something to note. But Brownlee's definitely been the guy. I think if there's that one surprise guy to make the team this year, it is Brownlee. I'm just not going to say it's going to be him. So let's see. Over Ashton Davis. Did Brown? No. Hold on. I'm just trying to see. Bawden ain't making the roster. Bawden was in the installs for the roster, Hawk. So if you're installing the plays and he is the starter on installs, you'd assume he's going to be the fullback. Now, if Rucker comes out and balls out and he could prove he could fill multiple roles, then okay, sure. But right now, as of right now, Bawden's on the team. Based on their installs, it's there. So, any concern over Hackett to Sean Payton? I'm not concerned over Hackett. His last time as OC, Rodgers was an MVP. That's all we got to talk about. I'm not too concerned about it. Now, if we're talking about Hackett coming in here, managing personalities, doing all that stuff, very concerned. Him managing offense, not very concerned about it. After going through the 53, I think it really comes down to Solomon Thomas versus Brownlee. I think that's fine. I think that's. I'm with you there, Max. I'm pretty sure Bawden was at the initials both of the last year. Yeah, and last year he got injured. So, let's see. Anything else? Huff's been popping. We mentioned that. People have been saying Woods has been showing up too. I think it was it Zach Rosenblatt said something like Q and Woods are like impossible to move in the run game. Good luck. The Jets, if they're prepared for a run this year, if you have JFM, JJ, Woods, and Q in, dude, like good luck running. I don't know where you run there. You're going to run to the edges, and hopefully the Jets, spill everything and make them run to the sidelines, and then just elongate the track right to the sideline and just run out of bounds. I don't see where you're running on the Jets defense if they're ready for it. Now, if you have Huffin and Quentin Jefferson in and JFM on the inside, okay, different story. We might get caught sometimes there, but if you have the Jets run D in and they know it's run down, woof. That's going to be tough for another team. Adams been impressing in free safety. You guys saw that pass deflection he had the other day. Based on what Robbie Sabo's been saying in terms of like him reading plays and stuff like that, also been good. So that's a positive. We talk about Becton. We talk about Mitchell. Rodgers, talk about the pay cut really quickly. Kind of already mentioned it, but he cut his overall salary for 2 years, whatever it was, from 110 to 75 million, $35 million off total. 2-year minimum. So we know we have him for 2 years, which is really, really exciting that he's going to be here, obviously, unless something unforeseen happens. So that's obviously very exciting news. It's a 5-year deal with 2 option years to spread the money out with this new deal. So it's a $9 million hit this year. And we had $20 million. So if it's a $9 million hit this year, we had $20 million. 20 minus 9 is 11. So I'm not sure how we have 16, but apparently we have 16. So I'm not 100% sure. But it's obviously great. Like Rodgers being all in to win, giving money back, probably the largest like give back of money in sports history, or at least close to it. So it's very, very exciting to see. 8.8 this year, 17.1 next year. which accounts for 25 of 75. But then you go to like Spot Track and you look at like 2025, 2026, those numbers indicate that the contract is more than 75. So I'm not sure if those websites have caught up, but if you're taking the numbers of 8.8 and 7.1, okay, you're talking about, let's just say $25 million, rounded, even though it's probably 26, but $25 million, he still owed 50 over those last 3 years. That's how I look at it. Again, I'm pretty stupid with contracts, but he plays $50 million. You take $15 million dead cap each year for Rodgers the next 2. Like, okay, fine. But there was some weird stuff about that. So there's also a 37.5 option in 2025 if Rodgers wishes to play a third year. So $37 million for another year of Rodgers in 2025. Maybe it's worth it, but it's obviously great, right? Like we go from years of nobody wanting to come to the Jets unless we overpay. Mosley overpaid. Avery Williamson overpaid or paid. Tremaine Johnson, Le'Veon Bell, Mosley. The list goes on and on and on. Hearing about players not wanting to come to the Jets or having to be overpaid and us having to pay the Jet tax. Now there is no Jet tax. Now people are giving money back to the Jets. Like, it's crazy. Like, you look at this trade when the Jets initially sent, like, a first pick and, whatever else to get Rodgers. It's like you're talking about $100 and something million for maybe a year at the minimum 2. Okay, like 1 year would really hurt. 2 for a first. Okay, I get it. But now he's getting $37 million back. Like, we win. We win that trade. Like, there's no losing that trade when he gives that money back. Now we can talk about, like, initially should they have even traded it, get it, but still, like, biggest pay cut in history. Guy wants to play here. Hall of Fame quarterback, going to be here for 2 years. It is absurdly exciting to get Rodgers back, and for him to just voluntarily give them Jets money. Like, who the fuck would ever? If I told you guys 3 years ago, hey, Rodgers is going to be on the Jets and he's giving money back to play with the Jets, nobody would believe me. Nobody's like, we just got to enjoy where we're at right now with Aaron Rodgers. But that is fantastic. And I'm sure the players are going to play really, really hard for him. I'm sure there's players, if they're going to Corey Davis and saying, hey, dude, listen, Aaron Rodgers gave $37 million back. Do you feel like you can give some money back? Okay, sure. Whitehead did it. Does Corey Davis do it? Does Cook take less? We'll see. But it's very exciting that he gave the money back. So let's see. If it's Baldwin versus Brownlee, I think it's going to be Brownlee if he keeps the high level of play throughout camp. Like, sure, I guess, but if the Jets don't think that Ruckert can fill the fullback role, like full-time fullback role, then, and they're planning on being part of the offense, then what matters more? Your fullback who's going to see 20% of the reps, or Brownlee who's not going to see the field unless there's an injury? It's Brownlee versus Baldwin versus Kuntz versus Solomon Thomas versus Tristan Colon. Like, we're talking, like, those are the 53rd guys we're trying to make the roster right now, right? So if JD signs an offensive tackle, who do you prefer besides Fant? Let's see. Free agent offensive tackles. And Kev, like, with this, you got on, like, you guys know, like, I'm going to say transparently, I don't know if I actually like these guys better. If I actually watch them, I might have a different opinion. But let's see what Spotrac has. Who's available right now? Taylor Lewan. Would he ever? Now, obviously, he didn't have the most glowing comments of Keith Carter, but I would take Taylor Lewan at tackle. I would take Fant, but you said no Fant. Juwan James, he was really bad for the Dolphins. Jason Peters, is he still trying to play at 41 years old? I don't know how bad he was for Dallas last year, but I might want to have him over, what's his name? Dakota Dozier. I think he tweeted today, or was it Ode Abushi, something about the Jets? I think it was Ode Abushi, but he's a left tackle. I thought he was a guard, though. Marcus Cannon, Ty Nishiki, Mike Remmers, Dan Skipper, Casey Tucker, Parker. I don't know, man. Taylor Lewan. Maybe Eric Fisher. There's not a lot out there. That's why I'm kind of thinking if they're going to make a big move, like, let's trade for a tackle at this point. So just my opinion. Then again, I'm just watching clips and hearing chatter. I'm not there. Yeah, like, I'm just saying there's always a lot of chatter for plenty of players, and wide receivers are the easiest ones to notice. That's the U and A position. So if they're going to make plays, they're going to stand out a lot more than Tristan Colon, right? Like, you're never going to notice Tristan Colon or Solomon Thomas or anything like that for the most part. Jason, are you concerned about offensive tackle? We can talk about this for quite a bit, Jason, but yes, I'm concerned. Now, I don't think I'm out of panic. I'm not in panic mode yet. I'm not even very concerned. I'm slightly concerned, but How do you see Clemens getting worked into the rotation? 20. He's probably going to see like 25% of the reps this year. I think he's going to be an interior pass rush guy to spell JFM, and on rundowns he'll play as an edge setter. So I think he's going to be the backup to JFM. Same role. Pass rush from the outside sometimes, inside sometimes, run stuffing on the edge. All right. So Jermaine Ellimore played right tackle for the Raiders, 28, and had a good season. VR sent me VR. I don't know who VR is. VR sent him that one. The Raiders are such a weird team, though, right, Hawk? And like just people in general, it's like, are you going for it or you're not going for it? Like they're such like an old but bad team. Like they I don't know what they're doing. But hey, that's a fun option. I'm okay with that. But yeah, I would look to guys who are 28, 29 years old on bad teams who they're not going to re-sign for the long term. Hawk is nowhere and everywhere all at once. Hawk is it's all. I am Hawk. There you go. There you go. Okay, I'm gonna keep scrolling down. Hawk, please check your Discord DMs. Guys are waiting for you. What are the guys waiting for you for, Hawk? What was that big game on Discord that everybody's playing? I actually tried it out for a little while, but then I got out of it. What's that big fuck? Among Us? Playing some Among Us or something like that? How about turning Clemens into a fullback in the red zone? I don't think it'd be the worst idea, right, Kepchada? Like I would take Clemens as a fullback. I would love that. Rex Ryan throwback to Sheldon Richardson getting some touchdowns. Yeah, I can see it. But no, I think Baldwin is the underrated storyline of the offseason so far. Does he make it? Yash Nimmin on Green Bay might not start for them, but could be a trade target. Dude, like that, like, yes, I'd be so excited about Evans. I'd be so excited about a lot of guys, like, whatever. But like, if they were to swing a trade for like a big time tackle, I really have no idea who it would be. Like maybe I don't think they would ever do this either because the Browns, like they have what's his name? We tried to sign a couple of years ago from Tennessee. What the hell's that guy's name? Wherever that tackle is, we tried to sign from Tennessee a couple of years ago, and he signed with the Browns. Like maybe the Browns realize, hey, we have a lot of cap problems going forward. We have to get rid of this guy this year, but then like they should be an all-in this year. So why would they do that? I don't think it's gonna happen. But VR is a YouTube loyalist like us. I don't know who VR is, unless he's been in here and maybe just a different name or something like that. But he's a loyalist, just not to this channel. But I appreciate him anyway. Support those other channels as well. Ryan and Green Bean and all those guys. Support them all. Are the Broncos the most hated non-divisional NFL team for Jets fans? No. Seahawks. No, I hate fans more than the Seahawks at this point. Seahawks, dude. I think going to so many games, I hate every fan base because I associate that one asshole fan at every game with the entire fan base. But there's no way it's the Broncos over the Seahawks at this point for Jets fans. At least I don't want to speak for all of you, but that's my opinion. So what's the talk on Beck? Is he getting traded as far as it goes with Clemens? He could play kicker if he wants to. Yeah, no, I don't. Oh, hold on. I text work back really quick. Okay. Let's see. Everyone except Boy Green. I'm not sure what that means. I don't know if you're talking shit. I'm sorry. I mean to highlight if you're talking shit. But if you're talking shit, is what it is. I'm sorry. I just don't know who VR is. Jets Lounge, what's up, Joe? What's up to Jets Lounge, which I believe is Jeremy. He changed his name quite a few times, but I believe that's Jeremy. So what's up, Jeremy? Mark Schler, stupid rant with the helmet. Ace. Oh, yeah, Scott Wilson. You are right, too, right? Like, Mark Schlereth is such a douche as well. So they're up there. But I don't think Jets fans are going to hate any like non-AFC team more than the Seahawks. You have to count the Giants in there. I don't like Browns fans. I don't like any fan. I don't like Vikings fans, anybody, but I would still say maybe it's Seahawks. No, not sorry. It's probably Giants, Seahawks, Broncos, if I had to say right now. So Richard Soma, I love the show. You're very knowledgeable in your analysis of Jets player schemes. Hope to see that. I appreciate that, Rich. We all hope. The Jets win the Super Bowl. This would be such a clutch year for me, like personally. The Jets get good. JetX becomes the number one individual Jets website in the world, which we are right now, which is fucking awesome. Having a baby boy, turning 31, which is like my number, all that stuff. Jets winning the Super Bowl, like that's gonna cap it off. Jets are winning the Super Bowl this year. It's written in stone. It's happening. Do not worry. Jets Lounge. It's me, bro, going to Monday Night Football versus Chargers. Hoping to see you there. Yeah, I know. I was talking to Ryan. I think I'm going to link up with Ryan week 1 of the for the Bills game. But I think he's doing like some get together thing with the Chargers. So I'm not sure where he's going to be. And I'm assuming if they're there, you're going to be there, Jeremy. So we'll see. I'll be there personally. I'll be at every single game minus what's the Christmas Eve game? Is that the Commanders or whatever the fuck their name is now? The Commanders, the Redskins, the football team. I'm not going to be there for that because I'm not going to be able to get off of work, but I'll be at every single game but that, including the Giants and the Dallas game as well. So I'll be at Chargers for sure. I just don't know exactly. Well, I don't know where you guys will be. I'm always in J1. Always in J1 for every year. And I think away games is fun to go to tailgates with like a bunch of people, but for the most part, like I like to chill with like my family, my friends, and leave the YouTube stuff for YouTube. For the most part, you get me. Let's see. Non-division, it's the Cowboys for me. I'm so glad we played them week 2. Yeah, Cowboys fans are such douchebags, right? Hawk, like they are pretty they're pretty bad. I don't remember exactly the situation because I had a couple of brews in me, but I remember getting very, very close in 2011. I was just like 20 years old, so you understand. 20 years old drinking. Yeah, 20 years old drinking whatever. You get some beer muscles, but I remember like some of their fans or something happened where a guy talked during the national anthem or something happened, and me and a couple of my buddies almost fought the guys behind us who were Cowboys fans. I remember them being such douchebags. So, I would imagine going there, they're going to be pretty like they're going to be assholes, but it's really stadium to stadium. Like I went to Buffalo, they were pretty friendly for the most part. I've been to stadiums where I think they're going to be a little bit more abrasive, and they're not. And then like you go to Arizona, I got a hot dog from in Arizona. I almost got in a fight in Carolina in the bathroom stalls. And so it's like it's kind of really it's luck of the draw where you are, how drunk people are. If you come into the bathroom at the same time as some drunk asshole, there you go. If that drunk asshole got delayed 5 minutes getting a hot dog, then you don't fight him, and your whole day changes. It's a victim of circumstance sometimes. But Dallas might be a little bit sketchy. So. Joe, your youth is showing the Broncos are the only reason why the Jets don't have a second Super Bowl. I hate them more than any. That's fine. And youth might be showing. That's true. I know that they missed the going to Super Bowl because of the Broncos, but I get it. Love you all. Lunch break's over. Keep breaking it down, Bluey. Appreciate you, Daniel. I'm about to jump off here as well. Eagles are going to be the most hated after we beat them. Why would we hate them though after we beat them? But nonetheless, I appreciate you guys. Stay on the channel. I think Robbie and Wayne are jumping on in 4 minutes. So heard opinions of camp and all that stuff from a guy who's actually done it. Ring of Honor Jets player. So go enjoy them. I'll see you guys next Wednesday night at 6. We're not doing the same night of the preseason game, but that's the day we'll be on. So I appreciate you guys, and